Hello, mainstreamers and cinephiles and everybody in between. I'm Bryant.
And I'm Caitlyn.
And Operation Silver Screen is a go. Our show and our mission is centralized on Caitlyn and I catching up and giving a debrief on must-see films that we haven't seen yet. However, we also have an additional tasking that comes with this assignment, which we refer to as our bonus objectives. The goal of our bonus objectives are to watch and debrief sequels and remakes of classics and must-see films. Not only will we review these movies, but also analyze it from the perspective of their predecessors. Caitlyn, what is our bonus objective this week?
Caitlyn here. For this bonus objective, we spared no expense. We've hopped on a helicopter and are flying to the Biosyn Corporation, home to the world's largest dinosaur sanctuary. And is that... Wait a second. Dodson, we've got Dodson here. Sorry, I got a bit distracted there for a second. Thought I saw someone on the ground. Okay, let me get this back on track. For this week's objective, we're covering the final piece of the Jurassic World trilogy, Jurassic World Dominion. Dominion marks the return of our Jurassic Park legacy characters, including paleontologist Dr. Alan Grant, KI-tician Dr. Ian Malcolm, and paleobotanist Dr. Ellie Sattler. They team up with the stars from the previous Jurassic World films to complete this franchise by director Colin Trevorrow.
And this is actually history for us and for legacy sequels, requels, re-trilogies, in that this is what legacy sequels want to do. This is what requels want to do. They want to, because the first Jurassic World is a requel. Requel being they're rebooting the franchise and making a film similar. That way it can come back, they can revive it, and they can ultimately make a trilogy. But actually, I guess this isn't history because Star Wars was able to complete their trilogy before this one. But between this and Star Wars, this is what a lot of them hope to actually accomplish. Make a good 3 set of films or more and make money with each and every one of them. We're seeing it right now with Scream, and because Scream 6 has been greenlit. Now, Matrix hasn't been greenlit, but the way that Matrix was going, it seemed like they were kind of hoping to bring this back. And same with Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So this is I guess you can say, the finished project. And in some ways, this succeeded as a requel. We see it grow up.
Yeah, I'd say this film was a little different. You know, usually you don't see legacy characters coming in towards the end of a franchise. Usually they're there in the very first movie right off the bat. We did see Ian Malcolm a little bit in Fallen Kingdom, just a little bit at the beginning and the end of that movie, but you really didn't have that true return till the end of the series. In the first movie, there wasn't any legacy characters at all, except for B.D. Wong, I think, was in the original Jurassic World, but you still had some of the nostalgia and fan service there.
That is true, and I wonder if that was a conscious decision, if they thought about it, like, nah, we don't need them, we don't need to depend on them, because we'll get into the legacy characters about this film, and I have some opinions on that. But you know, this whole like bringing these legacy characters back didn't really start until the last couple years, and the first film came out 2015. So I wonder if that was always the plan.
Yeah, I don't think it was intended to have these characters return from the get-go when the franchise first started. I know it was a hope of Colin Trevorrow's. He said it was a hope of his, but I don't think he was fully banking on it. I know Laura Dern said that she had this fierce protectiveness of Ellie Sattler, of that character, mostly because she said that she had a lot of girls and women who've come up to her and said that she was the first female action character that they've ever seen. They said that she's the first female that was equal to men in the story, and she said that they went into science or tech or politics because of her, and she said that that really moved her, and because of that she did feel that fierce protectiveness of Ellie Sattler, and it's a character that really meant a lot to Laura Dern. So I can see that she definitely wanted her character to come back in a way that was going to be respectful to that character. And I think it was probably about the same for Sam Neill and Jeff Goldblum to a degree, because, you know, they didn't know that when they created the first Jurassic Park that this was going to turn into such a big action franchise. So I have a feeling Sam Neill, too, looking at his Twitter and his connection to Alan, I think that they definitely wanted their characters to be respected. And whether or not they were or not, we'll get into that a little bit later when we get into this film discussion. But like I said, I don't think it was originally the plan to have these characters return, but I do think he was definitely hoping for it. I mean, it's something that I think a lot of people want. So now, before we get too much into our opinion, I do want to mention that this first part of our debrief will be spoiler-free. We're going to talk about our overall thoughts in the film, but also our overall thoughts on the franchise as a whole. There may be a couple small spoilers for the previous films, so if you haven't watched those, I'm not really sure why you're listening to this, but go ahead and watch those movies. We might have some spoilers on them, but as far as Dominion goes, there will be no spoilers until we get to our classified part of the mission, and then we'll give you a warning when we get to that. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about this franchise as a whole. Now, I know we've talked a little bit about the first Jurassic Park. I'm not sure if we mentioned it on this podcast or if it was just in our collaboration with the Casters Guild podcast, but we both mentioned that Jurassic Park is one of our favorite movies. Well, for me, it is my favorite movie of all time, but I think you had mentioned that it's definitely one of yours as well, and it's definitely your favorite of more mainstream movies. But I want to know what you think about the franchise as a whole.
Yes, this is one of my favorite movies, especially one of my favorite well-known movies. Of course, we're not going to do a episode on it since we've both seen the movie already, and that's not how our show works, unfortunately. But I would have put this at an S-grade movie. I love this movie. This is probably also the longest movie I've ever loved. Like, this is the earliest age, I said on the show before, that I was behind my car seat watching this movie because I was scared of the T-Rex. But still went in every time. Velociraptors are my longest and continuous theme in nightmares. I've been having nightmares of velociraptors for as long as I can remember. Don't understand why I keep watching these movies. Surprisingly, though, because of course for the show, you and I, we rewatched a lot of the films so we can talk about them more in depth. Surprisingly, I didn't have any velociraptor nightmares. Very fortunate. But I gotta say, this is a pure spectacle. Like, almost everybody loves dinosaurs, and they're just great to see on screen. And first talking about the first one, because the first one is separated. All right, the first one is timeless with its effects. Like, 1993, and that movie still holds up. They re-released it in IMAX. I got to see it, and it was just like seeing an IMAX movie of this day and age. It has some of the cleverest writing, and it's a real tight story. Now, a portion of that falls. After the first one, the writing is not tight at all. This is actually and I'm probably going to use this word a lot, a dumb franchise, I believe. Like, the stories just do not hold up. I continually roll my eyes throughout these films because they fall into the problem with a lot of sequel movies. It has sequelitis that they continually have. They never got over sequelitis, and they think bigger is better, and they cut out the writing. It's like somebody looked at Jurassic Park and they said, man, what do people love about this film? Well, they really like the characters, they like the writing. No. They like dinosaurs. Everybody likes dinosaurs. We can make any movie, any story, and do whatever we have to do to bring in dinosaurs. And that's not how it works. However, I still have fun with these movies. A lot of these movies, almost all of these sequels, are in my list for fun but not great films. There are movies I mentioned before on other episodes in which I have a lot of fun with them. I may even love them, but they're not great movies. And I don't mean they're so bad that they're fun like some horrible movies. No, I mean like these movies just aren't written well, but I'm able to turn my mind off. I'm able to look away from certain things and still have a really good time. So I can always rewatch these movies and not dread it. I can actually sit down and still have fun with this franchise.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all. I think there was a very steep decline after the first film as far as the quality and writing of these films. But I will say that this franchise does hold just a very special place with me. First of all, just because, I was a dino kid. I think that there's dino kids, there's space kids, and there's like marine biology kids. And for me, I was the dino kid.
The marine biology kids.
Oh my gosh, no. I feel like all girls were obsessed with dolphins at one point, and that's something I just never got.
Oh, okay, that marine biology. Okay, that's just a horse girl in water.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely. But yep, I was definitely a dino kid. I knew all my dino facts. But even more importantly than that, this definitely holds a special place for me just because of the connection I had with it with my grandfather. He was the one that showed me these films. I think the first one I saw in theaters with him was the third movie. I was old enough to go to a movie theater at that point, but we watched The Lost World and the original Jurassic Park several times at his house. I would go to his house every Wednesday, so every Wednesday religiously we were there watching it, sometimes multiple times back to back. He'd sit me in his comfy chair with a Yoo-hoo and some pumpkin seeds, and we'd have a day of it. And then I saw everyone after that, after 3 in theaters with him, and he actually passed away sometime between Fallen Kingdom and this new one, so this is the first one that I had to see without him, so that was a bit difficult for me, but it definitely, the franchise in general just definitely holds a very nostalgic and very special place with me because of that. So to a degree it is a little bit hard to think completely objectively for me for these films, but I do definitely agree with you that there was like I said, a steep decline after the first film, and I think a lot of the sequels have a lot of problems and they fall into that sequelitis, But something you said that you didn't really have a strong connection to some of these characters. And that's where I think I disagree, because I definitely think that there's reoccurring characters in this franchise that I do have a really big connection to. Towards the end of this podcast, we'll get into our ranking of these films, but I will say that even the one that I know I like the least and maybe border on dislike, I still seen twice. I've still watched all of these films a multitude of times. Like, I can't even imagine how many times I've watched the original trilogy. But I like dinosaurs. I think it's okay to go into this film just wanting some dinosaur action.
2 things. First, touching on the characters. No, I do like the characters, especially the original, and I like the original trio that we get. I even like the kids in the first one. I think after that, there's some characters I like here and there, but some are just set up. Some don't really have anything going on with them. They're just an archetype. So that's what I meant with that. Again, it's that decline. It kind of, after the first one, the characters don't really seem to be too important. I would say the second one keeps it with the characters a bit. Then I would say the third one totally loses it. The third one, they're just red shirts and meatbags. That's it. Except for the one returning character, Sam Neill.
Disagree, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. As far with the Godzilla and King Kong, no, I don't have a connection. I'll say the only real connection I have to anything, it's not a deep connection, but the only creature that I really like in films would be the dinosaurs and werewolves. Those are usually, I would go in with probably some, I wouldn't say prejudice, but personal interest. And at least in those films, like, I will like that. Also, dragons. Dragons are dope.
Oh, dragons are dope, but dragons are also just kind of like dinosaurs with wings, so...
Yeah, exactly. However, you can still screw it up for me. Like I said, not all these movies are great with me. Not every scene with dinosaurs I absolutely love. Just like dragons. The second Hobbit ruined dragons for me.
Fair.
I don't know how I was bored during a dragon scene, but I was.
Dinosaurs can be ruined for me, actually, if the CGI isn't good, if the visuals isn't good. I know there are some series, there was the Dinotopia series, which I really liked. The CGI was alright in that, but like there's some History Channel shows, like kind of like Animal Planet type documentaries, like The Walking with Dinosaurs, but I just was not feeling. The visuals just look super cheap, and it's a documentary, so I gotta give it some slack for that. But if the visuals aren't good, I'm not gonna be feeling it as much. By the way, you mentioned that velociraptors are a fear of yours. For me, velociraptors aren't a fear, but more specifically, animatronic velociraptors are a fear of mine, and animatronic dinosaurs in general.
I remember this. Yeah, we had this conversation before.
Yeah, I had this dream as a kid. It was kind of a typical Jurassic Park chase scenes with these velociraptors and a T-Rex chasing us, but the difference was the velociraptors, it was like a velociraptor body, but a robot head. And I knew that they were all animatronics. But like anytime I would go to like state fairs and they would have animatronic dinosaurs, I'd be kind of iffy. And like the dinosaur ride at Disney like terrified me because I knew that they were animatronic dinosaurs. It's just something about the way they move. Like, it's just not natural. Like, it's not natural to have dinosaurs in today's age. But then you add that kind of like weird robotic kind of jerky slow movement. It's just unnatural and it scares me. Is that like the uncanny valley of dinosaurs? I don't know. I don't like it.
I hope one day we get a huge following, or we get people that can draw or make animated films, and I want to see like me getting chased or opening a door and seeing a velociraptor and getting scared and then realizing, oh, thank God, it's just an animatronic, and then you get scared and run off.
Yeah, exactly. And if we kind of want to move on to talk about what works in this franchise, part of it is that fear element in this series. And I actually wasn't afraid at all of the first Jurassic Park as a kid. It wasn't until I was much older they had like a remaster and IMAX release at some point when I was an adult, and listening to that noises and stuff in IMAX, I was like, oh yeah, these velociraptors are a little bit scary. The thing that actually scared me as a kid was in The Lost World, the freaking compies, man. Those things are terrifying. Those little creatures coming and attacking that little girl and, attacking the man and tearing his face off. I remember having my parents tell me when certain scenes would come on so I could like close my eyes because I was really scared of it as a kid, as a little 5-year-old. And it was funny, when I was doing this rewatch the other day, I was watching with my boyfriend and I was telling him about this, and I told him that there's, a scene coming up that was scary to me. And there was a scene with the 2 T-Rexes where they just kind of come and tear this man apart, rip him right in half. And he says, oh, is that the part you were scared of when you were a kid? I said, oh no, that was fine. I ain't scared of T-Rexes. That's perfectly fine. My 5-year-old self was not really fazed at all by that. But those damn compies, man.
Yeah, compies are... I don't know how I feel about compies. I mean, they're like little miniature velociraptors.
I think because they're just so little and there are so many of them, they kind of remind me of like bugs in that way. They just kind of swarm you and attack. And yeah, no, I wasn't a fan.
Yeah, I think the horror is a pro in this franchise. And I think sometimes they hit it more than others. And I think the horror, it comes from the suspense. In each one of these films, there's a very suspenseful moment. Again, some directed better than others, but I have to say that's something that this franchise that works out really well when they get creative with it. Because we always have that shot where like the person's behind a wall and the snout of the dinosaur comes next to him. That shot is reused a little bit too much. But a lot of times, man, there's some really good moments. I think Fallen Kingdom, I was watching that again, and that had a really horrifying moment when the Indoraptor's going after the little girl in the bed and you see that huge claw stretch out for her. That's a true horror moment. And it actually got me with a jump scare in Fallen Kingdom at the end. Yeah, it got me. I completely forgot about it because I was just remembering this guy gets eaten by a dinosaur. But I forgot that it was a fake out that they had as well. Like there's one dinosaur in the background and you think that's the one. So you think you could have time to prepare, to get your guard up. So my guard was down and then a second dinosaur came out of nowhere. I was like, okay, that was good. That got me. The dinosaurs themselves work. I mean, like you said, we love dinosaurs. Everybody, even if you don't love dinosaurs, if you're not a dino girl or dino boy, dinosaurs are still interesting. That's why, that's why the possibility of these parks are kind of realistic, because we would want a theme park with the dinosaurs. Granted, that's the message of the story. Be careful what you wish for, because as we've seen, this goes wrong plenty of times.
So what are some other things that you think works or doesn't work for this franchise? Well, let's just start with what works, and then we'll get into what doesn't work. So what are some other things that you think works for the franchise?
The effects of the dinosaurs. It's timeless with these effects. Like I said, this even got a re-release in IMAX, and things work, but things work because they were done so well. Like the practical effects that were used in Jurassic Park are amazing. We talk a lot about how practical effects just hold up, and they usually do. And this is why practical effects are so good. Granted, it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of money, but hey, it works out for the better. And luckily, the films, as they grown, because CGI has gotten better, some CGI is used, but they're still using practical effects in these movies because they know that works and it's going to hold up.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, the original Jurassic Park, they did use mostly practical effects, but they did use a little bit of CGI, especially with the raptors and scenes where the raptors are like jumping and everything else.
Yeah.
Just things that they can't really do with practical effects. So it's really that mix, that seamless combination of the two that I think for me is what holds up in the franchise. And I think when you looked at the first Jurassic World, I know they used some practical, but I do think there was maybe a little bit more reliance on CGI than some of these other ones. But for Dominion, I know that there was a more practical, I think, used.
Yeah, I noticed that. And we were talking about it before the show. Green screen isn't too big of a thing in this franchise, except for like Jurassic Park 3. I noticed the green screen pretty badly.
Just in one scene, though, right? You said?
Yeah, it was just one scene. It was the parasailing scene.
I think also another thing that works as far as like actual filmmaking processes. I think sound design is something that's really well utilized in the film. I mean, if you look up for the first Jurassic Park, the different creatures and ways they got to create the T-Rex and the Velociraptor sounds, it really is interesting to see because obviously we don't have any idea what these creatures actually sounded like. We have an idea of, based on vocal cords that we've been able to see, well, not vocal cords, but just vocal structure, bone structure. So scientists can have some kind of clue to a degree. I mean, obviously with the Parasaurolophus and those type of dinosaurs, we know that they use their horn and it's to communicate in some ways. So there's some scientific basis for some things, but for other things, no, not at all. So the fact that they created these sounds, I know that the T-Rex is based, I think a baby elephant is part of that sound design. And for the Velociraptors, there was like dolphin noises in there. So you gotta applaud those sound designers for what they did. And I think that as far as what these dinosaurs sound like, it's also been really well done throughout the franchise.
With the IMAX, and one of the reasons I love IMAX is actually because of the sound. It's not so much the bigger screen, it's the sound that I love. And hearing those Velociraptors in IMAX, that was really horrifying. I was like, oh yeah, these things are scary. So the sound is great. And of course, everybody knows the T-Rex sound. Everybody knows the T-Rex sound from Jurassic Park. It's like a hippopotamus that was also used in it. I think a crocodile somehow. I don't know the noise that
it's
crocodile.
A whole combination of things.
Yeah, fun fact, not true dinosaurs that they used. And yeah, the sound is great. I think another thing that works well is the corporate angle with this, the corporate greed. But I really like the first one because the first one presents, I mean, it's not too unique of a situation, but I think it's more thought out than just basic greed. And they invite the reason that they have the original trio there, you may not remember, like, especially if you saw this as a kid or so long ago, it's not that they just invited them to the park to see the park and to, basically get a screen test of, hey, is this going to hit with audience? No, it was actually for insurance purposes. Like, they invited these people over to convince a lawyer that they have good reason to open up this park, that it's safe, that we can have people here, that we should be insured, and that it's not a risk. And like I said, I think that was more unique than just the basic dinosaurs make money, I'm greedy, I don't care how many people need to die. Or another one that we've seen a lot of, the poachers. Hey, I'm out here for the sport of it, which is not too bad. It's not too bad, but it's just nothing captures really the uniqueness of the first one. But I always did find that angle to be an interesting aspect to the movies. It gives a little something extra to it. It's not all being chased away by dinosaurs.
I actually put that as something that I don't like about the franchise.
Oh, really?
Yes.
It's one of the double ones for me. Like, it works, but like I said, it's also, it can become too basic and it can become an issue. And there's actually somebody I'll talk about in particular during our review of this film.
Yeah, I think that it worked in the first Jurassic Park. And as far as Dominion, like I said, I'm not going to go too far into Dominion yet. We'll get to that a little bit later. But I think that the way Dominion handles the corporate angle is a good... It handles the corporate issues in the first Jurassic Park to a later extent. It kind of goes back to some of those that were addressed in there. But as far as like the corporations, like InGen's appearance in The Lost World, when you talk about like military, corporate, underground appearance in Fallen Kingdom, those just don't work for me at all. Most of in Jurassic World, the first Jurassic World too, I wasn't a huge fan of the corporate angle as well. And a lot of that had to do with Claire's characterization, which once again, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, I generally don't like the corporate, because like I think you've talked about this before, how there's kind of that evil 90s corporation character. I feel like sometimes it got into that a little bit too much. It's also part of the reason why I like Jurassic Park 3, which, is usually called one of the worst in the franchise. But it's part of the reason why I like that movie is because there's not a corporate element at all to that one.
Yeah, think about with 3 too. That's probably how they shaved off 30 minutes, because that one is short. It's the shortest of all the films.
It is very short.
All the films go over 2 hours. This recent one was 2.5 hours, which we'll talk about. And yeah, I don't know. Like, I am kind of split with the corporate, because I like that it's there, but I feel like it gives it another angle. It gives something else to look at, but at the same time, I don't think it always works out well. I think the InGen corporation, the military within the first Jurassic World is awful. Getting raptors into the military is the dumbest idea. And honestly, you can't trust soldiers with half of the crap you give them, let alone trusting people with raptors. And he brings up the point like, well, we always had horses and elephants, and we used them in the military, and they used rats. It's like, yeah, but none of those things were predators. Like none of those. If basically just imagine, like we can tame lions, like lions can be tamed. We're not bringing lions into the military. We're not releasing lions out into the war. It's dumb. It's part of this dumb writing that they try to force in there. But I think sometimes it produces another conflict. And I at least respect the attempt, even though sometimes it's probably the dumbest part of the movie.
I think going along with kind of a corporate element, something else that this franchise tends to tackle on is the dangers of genetic science. And what is done with that. And usually from a corporate angle, you're seeing that once they get a hold of this science, they're going to use this to a degree that is dangerous. But so what did you think about like the science angle in these films?
Not touched on enough. Again, I feel like in Jurassic Park 1, we get a whole presentation about how this all works out, that dino DNA, and it's great. And man, they really do not touch on it. They talk about DNA splicing so much throughout these films. And actually, I keep saying films. There's another property that I do want to include when I'm talking about my opinion of the franchise, and that's Jurassic Park Camp Cretaceous, which is a animated series on Netflix. I watched the 3 seasons and half of the 4th season. Caitlyn, I know you just watched a little bit of the first season. I really enjoyed the show, and I think it capitalizes on a lot of the pros, and it may have a bit of a con. Actually, I was enjoying a lot of kind of that external, that government or self-interest angle played with some of it in the series, though right now in season 4, it's starting to show up with this new corporation, and I'm not sure if that's going to be, right now it's not looking too good. So again, it works and it doesn't work. It's just kind of like the dinosaurs sometimes. Sometimes the dinosaurs, they're really cool and they do cool things, and other times it's just dumb how things work out. And sorry to break away from your question going back around. That's kind of how... Sorry, I actually lost your question. What was your question again?
Just the theme of the dangers of genetic science.
Oh yeah, the science. Yeah, again, it's something that's touched on, but it's not explored. And I don't know actually if the science is really needed more, because we got that presentation in the first one. Like, we understand how these dinosaurs were created. We know that genes were used to be placed in to make up for breaks in the DNA. So, I mean, I got it. I understand it. I don't know if I actually necessarily need more.
Well, I think that the Jurassic World franchise in general takes it a step up as far as talking about the dangers of genetic science. But I think that at times it kind of comes across as silly. I think for Fallen Kingdom and Jurassic World specifically, they have the genetically modified dinosaurs, and that kind of plays into this. Jurassic World Dominion leans away from that, but it does talk about the dangers of genetic science in another way, which we will get into. But there's times when it's done well and times when it's done not. So I think that's something that is definitely a common theme within these movies. I think that 2 and 3, The Lost World, and the 3rd Jurassic Park probably have this less than the other ones, but I think it's definitely throughout the franchise otherwise.
Yes, because they do mention genetic power in this new one, in Dominion, and it does seem like an issue, but again, they really don't go into it, because genetic power is not just about the dinosaurs. They're actually going a bit further, and they talk about how just having these dinosaurs is going to go a step further into some human application as well. But again, they don't really go into it. They just mention it. It's like they had an advisor on set, and he was allowed to talk every now and then about genetic power, and sometimes they'll take his or her ideas.
Yeah, we'll definitely go into that a little bit more. I mean, you definitely see with blanking on her name, Maisie. Maisie's character in Fallen Kingdom, and obviously she's a returning character in Dominion. The ramifications in human cloning and that kind of genetic science as well. So we'll definitely get more into that when we talk about Dominion. Something else that is a theme in the franchise that I noticed, I think even more strongly noticing it through this rewatch, is the theme of nurturing. And you see that in the first Jurassic Park, but the nurturing is very much Alan and these kids. At the beginning he says he hates kids, and then once giving these kids, he kind of has to learn to be more of a parental figure. But I think that apart from the first movie, you see the theme of nurturing even more, and especially the theme of motherhood in particular, both with our characters and with the dinosaurs themselves. I think motherhood is very much a strong theme for the dinosaur story in throughout the franchise.
I can see that. Actually, I do see that now that you mention it, but it's there. Yeah, it's there. I don't think it's capitalized on.
Disagree with you. I mean, the whole plot of The Lost World and Jurassic Park 3 was all about, oh, we stole these eggs, oh, we stole this infant, and this is how the dinosaurs going to react because of their stolen infants. So, I think that was a strong driving plot in both of those movies.
Yeah, actually, no. I want to backtrack because I was thinking about Jurassic World, and actually those are the two most recent ones that I watched, was the Jurassic World trilogy. And yeah, they have that whole thing about how the Indominus Rex. The Indominus Rex, part of its problem is that it was born in captivity. Like, it doesn't know what to do when it gets out. It has no social skills. Even though it talks to raptors later on in the film, even though it has no social skills, so I don't know how that worked, but whatever. And it comes back to the raptors, and it's actually something I had in my notes for Dominion that I like, is that in kind of the Jurassic World trilogy, that there's a mutual respect between Owen and the raptor. Like, the raptor it's still a wild animal, and they have a mutual respect. But again, it's like you can't control these animals at all. Mm-hmm. But there is,
you see the nurturing.
Yeah, you see
the nurturing film with. Yeah, you see the nurturing theme with Owen, too. I mean, with these raptors, with Blue in particular, he raised it.
But I think with the raptor eggs, I was thinking that was more on theme with the greed. I didn't really tie that to nurturing. I mean, I can see, because then the dinosaurs were caring more about the eggs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely both, I think. But in conjunction with the rest of this, I think that it became more apparent that was also a commentary on velociraptors and dinosaurs and motherhood, and the idea of motherhood throughout nature. I feel that it's kind of a universal experience. And talking about motherhood within the human characters, I mean, in Jurassic World and throughout the Jurassic World franchise, I think that's a big part of Claire's storyline. It's actually a complaint I had about Jurassic World itself, which we can kind of move into now, because another theme that this franchise has is the theme of strong female characters, and usually strong and very intelligent female characters. And part of my problem with Jurassic World is that Claire's whole storyline was basically revolving around the men in her life. The whole kind of story of Jurassic World to me was kind of putting her down and showing that she's not maternal enough, she's not a good enough girlfriend to Owen, and putting her down in that way, and making that she needs to change, that she needs to develop as a character in order to be better for the men in this life, in order to be a better mother, in order to be a better girlfriend. Whereas, if you look at the romantic relationship in the original Jurassic Park, if you look at Alan and Ellie, their relationship is not like that at all. They're both extremely intelligent people with their own lives and own professional interests, and they just happen to be in a relationship. It's not something that's really a big point of interest in the story itself, and you might not even know it at first unless you have that scene where Ian's trying to hit on her, and he asks if she's available, and Alan's like, yeah, we're together. So that's something that bothered me with Jurassic World. But I think if you look at the other films, if you look at The Lost World with Julianne Moore, if you look at even The Fallen Kingdom, if you look at even Claire's better in Fallen Kingdom, and the paleo, her name, Danielle Pineda, the paleo veterinarian, she's very smart. So I think you do see a reoccurrence of these very smart females in their field, but sometimes it does lack that.
Yes, and I think that kind of the Jurassic World goes against that theme that you like with the children, because the children, they kind of became a staple of this as well. Like, you always have children in these sequels. It's only Dominion and Fallen Kingdom that you have the same child. And in Jurassic World is the first time that they had children, but I don't know if it was to subvert the expectations, because usually there's a parental figure, there's somebody caring for the child, and in Jurassic World, the children are kind of off on their own, and then their aunt's like, "Crap, I gotta save those children." And then, yeah, her arc is that by trying to save the children, she becomes to know and accept love and emotions.
Yeah, and I think maybe it was meaning to kind of parallel Alan's journey because he didn't want to have kids. He wasn't paternal at all, and then he had to become it. But the difference with Alan Grant is that he already was very capable. He was a capable, smart person. He was good in his field. He was an already established character. He just, he had to overcome this particular part of himself. But, with Claire, she was just this corporate stick in the mud. She's running with heels away from the dinosaurs, and all this kind of back and forth with Owen, which kind of was already called out multiple times for being sexist even before the movie was out. So it didn't really have that same kind of feel to it. It didn't really work for me.
It also didn't feel like Alan Grant hated kids. Like, he had an outright dislike. It was more like he was uncomfortable. Like, it was like he was socially awkward towards children.
I don't know. He said kids smell.
But they do. It's not even like a bad smell. They just smell weird.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it was borderline hate, but I think that he also just wasn't used to being around children very often.
Yeah, and that's where that social awkwardness comes from, because he just doesn't know how to deal with them. Well, Claire's character, she was that corporate archetype. That was it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. But speaking of capable kids, another thing that you're talking about, the Jurassic World kind of does it differently. I don't really feel that those kids were particularly capable, and I think it was kind of a waste of Nick Robinson's character, to be honest, because I do really like him as an actor. But throughout the franchise, you do see very capable kids. These are kids who don't always act like kids. There usually is something going on with them that makes them more intelligent, more capable to survive these situations. In the first Jurassic Park, obviously, you have a dino expert and a computer whiz. In the second one, you have a very good gymnast.
Very good.
A very good gymnast. I'll say she's a little bit of an outlier because, just one kind of gymnast move was all she really had going for her. But at least she was Ian Malcolm's daughter, so she had some wits to her. And in the third one, you have, Eric, who is completely capable at survival. And, I know you said you didn't like any of the characters in Jurassic Park 3, but I loved Eric. I thought that he was a very capable person. And I don't know. I really, really liked him as a character.
That 12-year-old survived 2 months on a dinosaur island? Really?
He was smart.
Man, they're smart, but there's also, like, just being capable of surviving, like, in an environment like that.
But he knew what he was doing.
Okay.
He did his research, and he read all the books. He read Alan's books. He read Ian's books. He was kind of like Tim, but like more survival era. I know my grandfather, he really liked him because, he really saw him as that like military type survivalist. So that was why he liked him, having gone through some of that.
Jurassic World, I would say that with those characters, I think they got out of situations.
I will say they did have some good sibling moments, at least, that I liked.
Yeah, I did like this. I had that in my notes too. I like the sibling moments. I think during those moments, that's when I really enjoyed their characters. I'll say again, the biggest con with this movie, with this franchise, is the writing. The writing, I used the word dumb so many times in my notes, and that's not because I don't have a thesaurus and I don't know other words for dumb, but it's just, I feel like that's just the best way to, to express it. Because they do things just to put people in certain situations, but it makes no sense. Like, no sense. Things just, we were talking before the show about certain things in Jurassic Park that aren't the brightest decisions. I think you can have bad decisions. I think bad decisions, because people make mistakes. If you're writing, your characters can't be perfect. They can't make all the right decisions, because then you also lose that tension as well. And, again, you have that impervious action hero because they always make the best decision or they always fall on luck. But after that first one, and that's when you start just to see everything. I can make a top 10 list of the dumbest things in the writing in these movies. I think, with Jurassic Park 3, again, we were talking before, you're telling me you're searching for your son on a whole island, and your plan is to land on an airstrip in the middle of the island and just start calling out on a megaphone on an island full of dinosaurs. I understand you haven't been to the island full of dinosaurs. I also have not been on a safari, but I'm not gonna lather myself up in steak, start walking around the safari covered in catnip. I'm not doing it.
I mean, she could have thought they were like bears. When you're trying to get a bear, you're supposed to be loud and make a lot of noise to scare off the bears. Maybe that's what she was thinking.
No, that's too much. Even with bears.
Yeah.
If I'm in the woods, it's kind of the same thing. Like I'm not gonna camp out and start just have fresh salmon out in front of my tent.
Yeah, supposed to tie that up. But I don't think for me, it's not the people or the things that they do that was the reason for the decline after the first movie. I think the first movie wasn't trying to be an action movie per se. I think it was just trying to be a good movie. And I think that everything that came out of it was just trying to be solely an action movie. Something to, get butts into seats. And that didn't really try to say anything too much more than that.
That's what I mean with the writing. It's not even always the people. It's the story. The story writing is what's bad. And, when we talk about writing, it's, of course, I'm saying for the audience, writing is not always dialogue. It's the story as well. The story is written. It follows the screenplay. And yeah, after the first one, they were writing the story to get to the moments where the dinosaurs were chasing people, where the dinosaurs were eating. And they will go ahead and they'll twist it and they'll make it unbelievable just so that they can put it in this situation. Even with the Jurassic World I'm telling you, I want to make this top 10 list, but this is probably going to be number 1. The Indoraptor, not the Indoraptor, that's the second one. The Indominus Rex.
Indominus Rex.
This apex predator that the world and God has never seen. Even God hasn't witnessed this thing. He's looking down like, holy crap, what is that? And it disappears, right? They cannot find it on thermo cameras, and they can't see it through the thick forest past the glass. But they know this thing is super smart. Granted, they don't think it's smart enough that it can somehow, pull a deep blue sea and make itself invisible to the cameras. But they know it's smart. So what is their plan? They go in and actually search for it. You're telling me you don't have drones? You have a helicopter fly over the place and see if you can see any rustling. Your idea is for you to go on a 3-man team into this pit, not thinking that, oh man, maybe we just have a technical malfunction. Now we got to get boots on the ground in there. That's how that movie starts up. And then you have later in the film, they go after it with non-lethals just so we can, why would you go in with non-lethals? Because they want to protect a $26 million asset, which I don't know if I should talk about now, my problem with the finances in Jurassic World, or later. I guess that's kind of a con. Actually, I do have it in my con. Do they understand money? But continue with the dumb decisions. And then Fallen Kingdom, what sets up Dominion, the movie that we're going to be talking about, the movie that this show is centered on, that the whole Jurassic World Dominion kind of being set up, or a portion of it, there was actually more reason to how all these dinosaurs got out. I'm glad I rewatched that movie because for some reason, I thought it was just Maisie that released all these dinosaurs in the world, even though she just released 11 species, or she released, why can't I do math right now? 7 species. She released 7 species out there because she was like, they're just like me. What? No. I may, my spirit animal is a goddamn seal, but if seals ran around and killed people, okay, I wouldn't release them from captivity. I would say, hey man, I'm sorry, the dinosaurs have to die. I don't want to watch animals die. But if my decision was to allow these animals to die in captivity compared to pressing a button and literally releasing it into the world, a pack of lions again, or tigers or bears or oh my, whatever else, I'm not going to do it. She has blood on her hands.
I don't know though. But they weren't all, it wasn't a pack of lions. It was 2 lions.
It was 2 T-Rexes.
A mouse, a rabbit, a horse.
There were 2 T-Rexes and a pterodactyl.
Okay, but there are also a lot of animals too that are not carnivores.
Yeah, but, okay.
Or predators. I mean, especially in Fallen Kingdom, in that particular film, I think the right to exist is the whole entire theme of that. And you see that from the beginning with the extinction level event on the island Nubar. you have Ian Malcolm saying, let the volcano kill them all, because that's, nature's way of correcting itself. But then you have Claire, who's working hard to save these dinosaurs, and because they're creatures, and she feels responsible for them. So I think that's an interesting theme that the franchise takes, but that movie in particular, I think, really starts that conversation. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Dominion, unless you had anything more to say about things you don't like in this franchise.
I want to move on to the opinion of the film. Just remind me to talk about the money. I already mentioned it a couple times, so I'm pretty sure that people want to hear what I have to say, because I'm not sure if it's a running joke or if it's a screenplay mistake.
Okay. And actually, before we get to our opinion on Dominion in general, I just want to ask, were you excited for this movie at all?
I was very... It was a toss-up because I didn't care for Jurassic World, but I did like Fallen Kingdom. But Fallen Kingdom, I don't think was a well-written movie. I think a lot of things were dumb. And I think Fallen Kingdom was even more dumb, but that wasn't really as fun. So with this movie, I'm like, man, I know this movie isn't going to be good. So I'm not excited for that. I wasn't excited on the level of so I couldn't be excited for this. I wasn't. But as far as looking forward to it, I was curious. I was like, all right, I wasn't dreading this, but I wasn't looking forward to the date. I didn't have it circled on my calendar.
I was excited for this film once I saw that the legacy characters were coming. Then I was real excited. Super excited. I mean, I absolutely love these characters. And the Jurassic World franchise is not as lovable to me as the original trilogy. But, I was excited. I was excited to see how they were going to incorporate these characters. And I did like Fallen Kingdom. I did enjoy Fallen Kingdom. I mean, I'm always going to be excited for a Jurassic Park movie. That's just how it is, even if I don't particularly care for some of the directions that the Jurassic World trilogy was going in. But there were some things I liked in Fallen Kingdom, and, you look forward to seeing how that's going to play out.
The legacy characters didn't do anything for me, I think, because we're continually seeing these legacy characters come back. So, and then again, it's a toss-up. So I'm like, are they here for the marketing, or are they here for the story?
See, I was okay either way. I mean, yes, legacy characters returning usually isn't my favorite thing, but these characters are my favorite characters in any media of all time. You talk about Ellie Sattler, she's my favorite female character of anything overall. So I would be excited to see her no matter what.
Actually, there was one character I wanted to see, and I told you about this, and I'm not going to spoil it for anybody of whether it happens or not. But I did want to see an armless Samuel Jackson show up in this movie. That would have been amazing. Hands down, A+ S tier movie for me.
Yeah, I didn't really think that was going to happen.
Just imagine, and why not? I mean, it's not like this movie really has much to risk. It's not like it's not already dumb. So why not?
I don't know.
Or to give him a little bit of a callback.
I feel like that's maybe a little callback, but that's like seeing Nedry return to me.
Who?
Nedry.
From Harry Potter?
Newman? No.
Oh, the kid?
Newman? No.
Oh my god, who?
Nedry. Oh my gosh, the whole entire villain of the first one with the Barbasol can.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. So seeing Samuel Jackson return would have been like seeing Nedry return.
We saw that guy die. We saw his body, he was getting eaten up.
It was implied that Samuel Jackson died.
We only saw his arm.
And honestly, if he didn't die from that velociraptor, he was going to die from lung cancer at some point before this movie. So
see, that would have been funny. The movie they're talking about genetic power. So we're finding a way to regrow limbs. One of the victims of the first Jurassic Park, we regrown one of his limbs. Unfortunately, we can't do anything about the lung cancer. Or maybe without having hands, he's not able to smoke anymore, so he doesn't do it.
He didn't need hands to smoke. Did you not see him in that first movie?
Yeah, there was always a
cigarette
cigarette in his
that
mouth.
cigarette. He did not need hands to smoke. That man was talented in that regard.
He would have been using his toes. Imagine that. We just got a scene. I got to visit an old friend, and they go in and Samuel Jackson, but he got his foot and a cigarette up to, so you can't see his face, and he brings his foot down with a cigarette and blows smoke, and it clears up, and there's Samuel Jackson. I should have wrote this film.
Yeah, okay. I'm kind of glad you didn't.
I would have got those Spider-Man woos that they got in the theater.
Oh gosh. Oh geez. No more Spider-Man woos. I don't think I can handle that much level of fan service. So, without spoilers, what did you think of Dominion overall?
Let's set the movie up real quick. So, and let's set it up to what was advertised, what was marketed, what was set up with the story. And I want to know first if at all you disagree with me.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jurassic World Dominion, now the dinosaurs have been released upon the Earth, and it has become a global event due to the incidents of Fallen Kingdom, and also rewatching Jurassic World and seeing the ending of Fallen Kingdom. Also, some of the DNA was smuggled out, and basically the DNA has just gone all over the world to competent and incompetent people. I would say incompetent because now there's dinosaurs everywhere. So obviously those that clone probably didn't have the best of gates, and we have more Jurassic Park incidents around the world. Granted, they don't really explain that in this movie, but that's what I'm inferring happened. Either way, there's dinosaurs all over the place, and now the humans need to go ahead and coexist with these dinosaurs and learn to live among them, and to make decisions of the best way to go about continuing their own life while the life of dinosaurs is present. That's what was advertised and what was built up, correct, Caitlyn?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I would agree.
Okay. So the word that I'll associate mostly with this movie is audacity. This movie had the goddamn audacity to false advertise a movie and not to barely touch on anything we just talked about. You want to know the plot of this movie? Without spoilers, there are 2 stories going on. 2, okay? Because we got to have one for our legacy characters, and we got to go over 2 hours. One is a rescue mission. Someone or something gets taken, and a team has to go and rescue that individual or property. The second one is a mission to basically go undercover and steal locust DNA. But Bryant, it sounded like you said locust. That sounds like a bug. That doesn't really sound like a dinosaur. No, because it's not a dinosaur. So we have Jurassic World. Granted, locusts were around probably during Jurassic and Cretaceous times, but
Cretaceous.
You know I can't pronounce things. Why you gotta call me out? Couldn't let me keep rolling with it. Cretaceous, right? Cretaceous or Cretaceous?
Cretaceous.
Cretaceous. Yes, Cretaceous. Yeah, they existed, and at first I was like, okay, the locust is a different angle. That's cool. Because they were present. And what are the locusts trying? What's the problem with locusts? Well, kind of like a problem that has probably happened out in history before. And I'm not talking about the plague. I'm talking about the locusts going around and eating up all the food, killing the farm fields. And
to clarify, these are locusts with Cretaceous DNA.
Yes. And they're going around and they're eating up all this farmland and all this grain. And now they're having a food shortage. However, they're not eating the corporate's grain. So the corporate seed is actually still surviving all this. So their plan is to release locusts so it eats up everything but theirs, so that they continually to sell theirs in an up price. Well, what does that have to do with the whole world being taken over with dinosaurs? Not a thing. Not a bloody thing. And I don't. And my other issue with this is called a conclusion to the story. So granted, the movie has its own self-contained story, and it should be reviewed on that. But at the same time, just like with a series finale, season finale, or a final season, you have to also grade it and review it in comparison to the rest of the material, such as was the beginning of the trilogy a good build-up to what continued on for it. I think, Jurassic World kind of did set it up. It showed the advancement that we went through, and it showed like how this got out of hand, and kind of showed where the world was at during this point. But this doesn't conclude anything. It doesn't wrap up anything. Like I said, it doesn't even play on the fact that there are dinosaurs running around. But then it has the audacity at the end to say like, we must now learn to coexist with the dinosaurs. Like, no. You can't just say your message at the end of the film. You need to show it. That's how poorly this was written, is that nothing goes to that last sentence or to one of the few last sentences, because nothing about the story goes to that message. And nothing sticks on theme with it. And you even have like your legacy characters. It acts like it somehow wraps up their arc as well. Like, we're going to finish this. Like, no, nothing. You're not doing the same thing. This has nothing to do with that problem. And they have another character in here that gets a redemption arc. And it's such a poor redemption arc. Like, it's poor. Like, they set up something for him to get redeemed by. But
it is very poor.
He created it himself, and it doesn't excuse doesn't make up for the fact that all the other crap that he's done throughout all of the films, and I mean all of them. Granted, like the first times it was just a couple innocent experiments, and then it became like, no man, you did some war level crimes. It's yeah, and I would say though, and like I actually, I'm I'm getting a little worked up about it. I've been having this pent up since Thursday. I haven't been able to talk to anybody.
A little worked up.
Like I texted somebody. I talked to Devin for like a minute before he went to work, the rookie. But I had like all this pent up because during the film I was enjoying it. Like I was having fun. There were some cool set pieces because with the whole world thing, like the first 30 minutes of the film, they're able to go across the world. They go to these different locations and states. And I was having like some fun and enjoyment watching it. And then like the moments it slowed down, I started thinking, I was like, wait, this is where we're going? And then something cool would happen. I'll get distracted for a little bit. But then we would go ahead and towards the end of the movie, I'm like, okay, the movie's ending. I was like, and they have not touched on the whole Jurassic World thing at all. Actually, what they end up doing is basically taking you to another park. They take you to another park. And I was reading an IGN article, and they made a good point about Fallen Kingdom. They said Fallen Kingdom actually took them, for better or worse, or, whether you like the film or not, it tried to take it in a different direction. It literally blew up the island, and it brought it to this new set piece. Granted, how you feel about it being all contained within this mansion. At least it took it away from the park, and then the franchise came back and said, nah, we're going to go to another park. Granted, it's not a park, it's like some sanctuary, but it's the same thing. And we get...
Yeah, it's a nature, observatory sanctuary. I mean, there are dinosaurs out and about, and you kind of get to see some of, like, the black market dinosaur dealings, but essentially it does take you back to a park.
Yeah, so we just do the same thing over again. Even at the ending, man, I feel like they knew it too because there's this other dinosaur fight. And I'm like, man, this dinosaur fight it's not interesting. It's not as cool as the other ones that we've seen. As much as I hate the Blue and T-Rex tag teaming the Indominus Rex, as much as I hate that scene and how ridiculous that was, at least it was something different. This just ends like a kid playing with action figures, but has to stop early to go to bed.
I don't know. I had fun with the fight scenes, the dinosaur fight scenes on that last scene. I had fun with it. Was it good? It was a little silly, but I had fun with it.
I mean, I've definitely had like O factor when it finished. I think the way it finished was dope, but when it was happening, I was like, all right, cool. I think there's a really cool dino car chase in this movie. I really like that. Mm-hmm. So, like I said,
I like that as well.
I had some fun in this movie, but man, like for you to call this a conclusion, and as I've been saying with this writing, this is extremely lazy and poorly thought out. And I hate to say that, like I don't like to talk crap about this film because I was even reading an article about the director Colin, I forget Trevorrow. And him talking and asking me brought back by Steven Spielberg, and him talking to the legacy actors about this film. And they also brought in Emily Carmichael to help out with the screenplay. And it sounded like there was actual thought put into this movie. Like they had a story that they were proud of, or at least, they were saying that they were proud of. And I hate to say, I hate to talk about, I don't say I hate because I am doing a critical piece here, but this was just poor writing. Through and through, and and I feel like it was so lackluster, and it cheats the audience. It cheats the audience out of what they advertised.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree with that. I think that this was not the plot that was advertised, and the plot in this film wasn't very good. To be honest, I don't think I even fully understood the plot when I was watching this, and the science behind it didn't really always make sense. But I feel like, there's going to be scientific inaccuracies and issues in all of these films, but this one definitely had a lot in there that was questionable. But there is a lot that I did enjoy for this film. I really loved the dinosaur fights. I liked the characters, even ones that I disliked previously. We're talking about Claire particularly. I really liked her character in this, even though I didn't like her treatment and characterization in the previous films. Fallen Kingdom was better, but then the direction that this took, I really enjoyed. Obviously, I like the legacy characters, and I like what was done with them, except for a couple things that I wasn't a fan of, which I will get into in a little bit. But, I think it had cool dino fights, cool dino sequences, and I think the thing that I really liked the most for this film is just the diversity of the dinosaurs that you got to see. You obviously the T-Rex and the Velociraptors are going to be back. They're always going to be in this, especially the T-Rex. It's kind of the icon of the series, and they make sure you know that in this movie, but it is the iconic dino of this franchise. But there are a lot of other species that we've never seen before in a Jurassic Park movie, and species that I'm sure the general public probably don't even know about. And even better, for the first time, we're seeing dinosaurs with feathers, which was so cool to see. If you go on my personal Twitter, or it's not personal, it's out there on the public, but if you go on my Twitter, I mentioned that this was kind of proof that you can have dinosaurs with feathers and make them terrifying, because the dinosaurs with feathers, they really were scary in this film. Granted, like I said, not everything's going to be scientifically accurate, but the fact that they at least tried to add some feathers to some of these dinos, that was a big deal. That's a really big deal, if you know some things about dinosaurs and the scientific community there. So that was a big deal, and I was just really happy to see that.
I did like the feather representation. I think it is a misrepresented group of dinosaurs. I actually have in my notes, it just says feathers, because I saw that and I was like, oh snap. Granted, in Jurassic World, they actually do mention why they don't have feathers. And it's because they wanted to make it more crowd appealing. So like there's a literal in movie reason, a canon reason. But no, I did like that there were feather, and there were different dinosaurs in here. They even had the big carnivore. I did like that. I did like a lot of sequences with the dinosaurs. I think my issue, and because that's what keeps me going with these films. That's why I find these films, even if they're being written poorly, I have fun because of the dinosaurs. I think a lot of it was there, especially with that Velociraptor chasing. But in this film, the direction is poor when it comes to character directions. Characters do not react appropriately to what is happening in the scene, whether it's dinosaurs or gunfire. The characters do not act appropriately. It is sometimes jarring. And there is a difference if you watch Fallen Kingdom, which was directed by J.A. What's his name again? Bayona? There is a difference in character reaction, and he is a better director. He's a better blockbuster director, and it is more effective during those moments that are supposed to be suspenseful, because characters are acting as they really should, as in that shock and terror. Granted, that one has a little bit more screaming. I could do without that, but there are a lot more moments where things are more believable and things are more tense because there is a better director behind the camera when it comes for characters.
Yeah, I mean, for reference, J.A. Bayona also directed The Impossible and A Monster Calls, so I do think that he has a little bit more experience with this. I think before the Jurassic World, the first one, Colin Trevorrow was just an indie darling. He did Safety Not Guaranteed. I'm not sure what else he did, but I think that in general, when you look at a lot of these Hollywood franchises, they have this reoccurring issue of hiring these indie darlings. I guess because I don't know if it's just because the producers want someone they can kind of push over a little bit more. I'm not really sure, but I feel like the jump between these small indie films to these big blockbusters sometimes is just a little bit too much, and it's not something that they're particularly good at. Another example of this, I might get a lot of hate, is just the Rian Johnson issue. For me, I don't think that he should have made the jump from the movies that he was making to a big blockbuster. You see this a lot of time with the Marvel movies. You talk about Chloe Zhao to Eternals. Eternals didn't get very good reviews, though there are things from her direction that I liked and a lot of things I liked in that. But, it's a reoccurring theme that we've seen in these franchises.
He's definitely, I want to say this with the most respect, he's a studio puppet. The studio brought him in, because we talked about this before on the show. We talked about it during The Godfather. The reason they brought in Francis Ford Coppola, Paramount wanted somebody that they could push around. That's what happened. That was documented. Paramount wanted a movie. Studios, distributors, the producers, they can't make the movie. They need somebody to make the movie, but they have a vision on what they want to do. We've seen this throughout history. We see this with David Fincher, with Aliens and Seven. Like you said, Rian Johnson. Rian Johnson's a good director, but Star Wars most likely failed, and because we've seen it in the other films, they didn't have a good plan. They didn't know what they wanted to do. And as a director, he didn't know what to do. And Colin Trevorrow here, he doesn't know I don't think. I think it's a studio doing this, but at the same time, I don't think he's a good director. He is a indie
I don't.
darling, safety guaranteed. He did, but I don't think. I think when I watch Fallen Kingdom, I can tell the difference in direction. And I'm not saying he's not a good director because he can be, but you can't tell in this because it is a studio film, and that's something Marvel also is a big player on, which is why it's so surprising they had Sam Raimi stick around when you had people like Edgar Wright who left the project because they were creative differences, and then you had somebody who directed the whole Spider-Man franchise. You look at what they did before, barely anything.
Now, to be fair, I think Colin Trevorrow did leave the Star Wars franchise for creative differences. I think he was supposed to direct the third film, if I'm correct. But if you look at his filmography, I mean, Safety Not Guaranteed was well received, I believe. I remember I saw it a couple years ago. I enjoyed it. It was just a cute little indie sci-fi, low budget.
Same here.
He also did The Book of Henry, which I don't think had very good reviews.
It was mixed.
Okay. So, I mean, he doesn't have a too extensive filmography either. So I think handing him a franchise like this when he just doesn't have that much experience was probably a mistake.
Yes, and looking at those movies, looking at those indie movies, it's different when you're doing a blockbuster. And again, it's different when you have characters who need to react to things that aren't there or reacting to a spectacle. Actors are not, a lot of people don't realize how much depends on a director for acting. You can, pick an actor that you love or, pick a so-so actor and look at their movies that are directed by great directors and then look at their movies from directors that are not so well received, and you'll see different performances coming from them. So it's not even like I can really blame him, but you can tell that Fallen Kingdom had a more experienced director behind it. And again, it may not be noticed by everybody. Like I said, it didn't pull me too far from it, but it is there.
And if you want to talk about blocking, I think that was something that director Colin Trevorrow, he did note that he had some issues with and that it was a challenge for him. This is a very loaded cast in this film. You have your legacy characters, you have your returning characters, and then you also have some new characters in the mix as well. So there is a lot of characters to follow in this. Oh, and plus you have your villains as well. There are some villain characters in there. So when it came to blocking and trying to manage all these characters in a single scene, there's times where the characters were separated and going off on their own plots, but of course, eventually they all got to meet up, right? Because that's what happens in these movies. But just trying to manage and juggle all those characters at once in a single scene, I can understand why it would be difficult, and I'm not entirely sure that I agree with the story, how it went about having those characters all together like that. And, I think that some separation would have done some good.
Yeah, there's a scene in particular where they're all on camera, and that's one of the times that you can notice the movement, like something's odd about it. It's not natural. And yeah, it could be just because he doesn't know how to move that many characters in one frame. So, if you have seen it, think about it. If you haven't, take a look for that. But yeah, I think it was just way too many people on screen. And talking about too many characters, I'm curious. I don't know if you have, if you want to say something before this, but one of the coming questions I have for you is, do you think the legacy characters were needed in this film? Do you think they served a purpose to the story?
I think some legacy characters more than others. I think you could have definitely made a story without them. For me personally, seeing a conclusion to Alan and Ellie's story, which we had never seen in a Jurassic Park film before, that was meaningful and that meant a lot. I don't know that I necessarily like the execution to the full degree that it did it. There are things I liked, things I didn't. I think for Ian Malcolm's character, I think his character was a bit unnecessary, more so than Alan and Ellie. There's a new character introduced, Ramsey, that I think if you had gotten rid of Ian Malcolm's characterization and just given more to Ramsey, I think it would have worked out just fine.
I'm actually glad to hear what you had to say about Ian Malcolm, because I know you love him. We all love Jeff Goldblum.
We all love Ian Malcolm.
And Jeff Goldblum has become kind of this eccentric character in and out of film. It was weird with him in this film. He really did not feel like he belonged. And he had dialogue Like, he had the comedic dialogue. Like, sometimes he just said things, and sometimes it was even off camera. So I don't even know if they came back and said, hey, we need more lines, and he just came to the studio and just started putting things through the microphone. But it didn't fit, and again, there's just too many people. And like you said, the Ramsey character definitely could have taken point for him. I didn't even think about that. You could honestly, take Ian Malcolm out and be completely fine with just that character, because honestly, that character is just the middleman between these two others. I like the idea that Laura Dern and Sam Neill got a conclusion. Unfortunately, it was just an idea. It wasn't executed well. It wasn't the conclusion they got. I don't think really had anything to do with their previous adventures. And we'll talk about it more during spoilers because of what they actually concluded with. Like I said, both plot lines have nothing really to serve with this story. At least with the one plot line, the rescue mission, it had elements that went with past films, while I feel like the legacy characters were attached to this film, secondary. So I think they could have had a great role in this. I think if there was a better story, it could have had a better a better execution with the legacy characters. But once again, I feel like this was for marketing and cash purposes. I don't know why they agreed to do this film, and this is why I don't trust cast and crew when they talk about their movie saying, yeah, this is the end game of the franchise and I came back because I love this property. Or when you have like the legacy director say, yes, this film has my approval, because it's not trustworthy.
I think that Laura Dern, her character, for me, I think was the most necessary, I think, of the legacy characters in this story, given the plot that we were given. I think with the locusts and the harvest, this comes into her field with paleobotany and what she's studying and what she does. So I think for her, it felt natural. It felt natural that she would be the one who would want to speak up and do something about this. And she kind of brings Alan along in it because she trusts him. So I think it makes sense that she brought him in with it, but I definitely think that Laura Dern's character of a legacy character is the one that made the most sense with this storyline.
I wasn't dreading them on camera. Laura Dern was the standout of them all. I mean, Alan gets brought up. He literally gets picked up to be on this mission. There isn't really too much of a need for him to be there. Of course, he helps out throughout, but man, so much more could have been done.
I think of the three of them, Alan's characterization is the most, I don't want to say bastardized, but it's his characterization in this film and the way it presented his story arc was the least fulfilling for me, and I felt the least like his character in the other films. Like Ian, I think Ian was still himself. I don't think necessarily his character was necessary in this film, but I did enjoy him and he still felt like Ian Malcolm. Dr. Alan Grant was not the Alan Grant that I fully know. There was hints of him there and I like parts of his story, but we'll go more into that and when we get into the spoiler section, but I think it's not the Alan I knew from Jurassic Park 1 and Jurassic Park 3. And honestly, there's a disservice to his arc in the first Jurassic Park part. In the original Jurassic Park that is done in this film that I will also talk about in our spoiler section.
I didn't care for the will they, won't they either. Like, oh, are they going to get together? Are they not going to get together? Like, we've seen that and we know where it's going. I would have rather them.
Have we seen that? We've never seen that with them.
Not with them. With other movies. I feel like it'd been better just to start them off together. I mean, that's what the fans wanted anyway.
Yeah. I mean, there's a part of that I like. And I think that in Jurassic Park 3, you saw it as well, but there is a strong companionship. And the fact that she said that, I'm going to you because you're the only one I can trust, for me, that was very poignant because even though obviously their relationship did not work out, she went on and married someone else and had 2 kids. There still is such this great trust between them. And even when they're not together, it's not always about the romance with them. And so I kind of liked that it was a little bit going back to that, the fact that, obviously they have feelings for each other, but even without that emotional connection, they're still gravitating towards each other.
I'll say at least like they seem to get more, I don't know, screen time or just more time to as characters to interact than our original characters that we have in this trilogy. Owen and Claire.
Yeah, I agree. I see. The thing I liked about this movie and its legacy characters that I would say other requels don't have, or other sequels, is that at least the legacy characters did have their own plot. Was it necessary for that to be them in particular? Maybe not, but they had their own plot and they had their own purposes and they served that purpose. Whereas with other requels, you just kind of see legacy characters thrown in to supplement or take over the plot of your other characters. So I appreciated that respect to the characters in that way. They weren't secondary, they actually had a plot.
See, that's where I'm balanced on that. Like, I have pros and cons when it comes to both. Yeah, I don't like to see the legacy characters take over. I don't like to see them take focus. We talked about Maverick, how Maverick had a great balance between their new and old characters. It was great. They both had their own things going on, and they both worked in their own stories. But here,
I agree, but Top Gun Maverick was still a movie about Maverick.
True. Okay. So yeah, but yeah, true. But at least at least I had a balance. Granted, they had an advantage, but there was a balance. Now with this, I wonder. Yeah, they had their own plot, but man, like we said, this plot, even though both plots have nothing to do with the movie, like that was set up, this plot does feel attached. So I wonder if this was secondary. Because, yeah, I'm glad they had their own plot. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad they had their own plot. Like I said, though, I wish they had a better plot. And, like, this plot wasn't needed at all. So, would I rather no plot? Yeah, I'd rather have no plot, no legacy characters. It means I get out of this movie faster. Or we actually get to spend time on Jurassic World, the Dominion now. Then, yeah, I would have sacrificed that. But again, you could have had the legacy characters, just like the other plot, you could have had the legacy characters do something about the Jurassic World Dominion. So there was a better story there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. Like I said, I don't like the plot that they were given, but I generally liked the way that, like I said, maybe excluding Malcolm because I felt like he was more of a shoo-in, not a shoo-in. I feel like he was shoved in more than Alan and Ellie were. But I didn't like the plot that Alan and Ellie were given necessarily, but I like the way they played it. And I agree. I don't think that this plot was written just for them. I think this was a plot that probably they just had in mind and they wrote it that way. But I don't think, like I said, I think that's more of a plot issue with writing for the plot than necessarily the issue with including the legacy characters.
Maybe Sam Neill has more in common with his character in real life, because in the third movie, he says, no force on heaven or earth will get me to go back to that island. And somebody's like, I'll write you a check. And I wonder if that's the same conversation he had with these producers.
Probably. I can see it. I don't know, though. Sam Neill seems pretty chill. Like, I feel like I just see him on Twitter just chilling with a pig on the outdoors, just enjoying his simple life. So I don't know.
Maybe his pig's birthday's coming up.
Maybe.
See the pig with a Rolex.
Part of me wondered, so like I always wanted a sequel, not with Laura Dern and Alan, because we got that, but with Ariana Richards and Joe Mazziello, Tim and Lex. I wonder like what a sequel with them would have been like instead, if you wanted to bring back legacy characters.
Is that Lost World or 3?
The original Jurassic Park.
Oh, the kids. Oh, yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, Lex and Tim.
You always got to wonder if the kids grow up to be good actors.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Joe's still acting. I think he was in, he was in something recently.
Oh, that's
right. As like a background character.
Yeah.
I don't think Ariana Richards, I believe that's her name. I think she's like painting now. Or at least last I heard she was like doing more different interests. So I don't think she's acting anymore. I'm pretty sure her last movie was a while ago. But Joe Mazziello, he is still, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. I'm trying to see what the last film he was in, because it was very recent. And I think that in the past he has expressed interest in coming back as well. And Tim at this point would be grown. He obviously had an interest in dinosaurs, so it would be interesting if he still followed his paleontology roots. Bohemian Rhapsody was the more recent film that he was in. He was a member of the band, I believe. I'm not sure who he played.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind a sequel with them, see where their life had taken them. But at the same time, I just want a sequel that's just written well. Like,
Yeah,
you
fair.
like I don't care if the movie focuses on a turtle. If it's written well, I'll watch that turtle from beginning to end.
You know, the corporation aspect of this, though, did have some interest to me. So the main corporation in this film is Biosyn, and if you know much about the original Jurassic Park, Biosyn was kind of a shadowy character in the original. I don't think they even name them by name, but if you know the books or know any of that kind of background, Biosyn is the corporation that sent Dodson, that sent Nedry in the original film to steal some of the genetic material. They were a competitor of InGen. And so I think throughout this whole franchise, it has been interesting to see, you know, the fall of InGen and then the rise of, well, first it came the Maserati. The Maserati, that's not the right, that's a car.
Yeah.
Maserati something.
The Manticore?
Not the Manticore. It starts with an M, but there's a corporation that created Jurassic World, and they kind of took over for InGen to build up Jurassic World again. And so once they were done, in this background, still, while InGen and all the successors were continuously failing, Biosyn was in the background, succeeding in building for this final film. And I liked the idea of that. I love the idea of that. I think it's a very interesting idea because, you know, it was introduced in the very first Jurassic Park film. And, you know, we haven't really heard too much from them since then. But it makes sense that they would still be doing their own research, genetic research. But unfortunately, I think the execution of this corporation was not great. It was interesting seeing Dodson again. I was kind of in disbelief. I was like, is Dodson really the villain of this? Is this a spoiler? It's kind of... From the beginning, you see Dodson.
When do you see Dodson?
The whole entire movie? He was the main villain of the film?
That was him?
Yeah, that was Dodson because he works for Biosyn. Lewis Dobson.
How did he survive?
He was never on the island. He sent Nedry instead.
Oh, that Dodson. Gotcha. Oh, yeah.
The Dodson. We got Dodson here.
I was thinking of Newman's character, and I was like, wait a minute. He can't be Dodson. Why was he repeating his own name? So, yeah, okay. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so like I said, like Biosyn and Dodson, like they were introduced in the first movie, and then we never heard from again. So I thought it was interesting to being able to bring them back and show how they've been kind of working in the background in kind of this nefarious, shadowy position. But then, unfortunately, the actual execution of that fell a bit short for me.
That explains a certain prop being used twice. With his character... Man, they set him up to be really smart because of this whole sanctuary, but there was a lot of flaws in just this whole setup of like their corporate building. Like, I just have a lot of questions. And I don't even work security or develop fire escape plans, but I had a lot of questions about this movie. About how, because of course, you know, things fall through and how they fall through, how things get out of control. So did no one think about this? No one? No,
you think after so many films that they would create technology that would actually help them in the event of a dinosaur event, but nope.
Like, I got it with Jurassic World, sort of. Like, the way it escaped was dumb, but at least they had the place locked down. It wasn't until they made a dumb decision that security couldn't help with. I mean, you can make the world's most impenetrable door, but if you leave it open, that's on you. There's no security to help out with that. That just happens. Granted, they should have probably had 2 doors now thinking about it. Why didn't they have 2 doors? They had 2 doors for the Raptors. Why didn't they have... Oh my God, the more I think about these movies.
What did you think about Maisie's storyline? Without spoilers.
That was the only arc that I felt like was actually expanded and concluded. So I think that was like the only well-written thing in this movie. And so I gotta say I liked it.
Yeah, I think this is where we get into the real, like, I won't say dangers, but ramifications and capabilities of genetic science and that came out of this dinosaur cloning and what that means for humans. And so I did like seeing that. There's some things I'll save for the spoiler section as far as her story, but I do like Maisie as a character.
Yeah, I didn't care for her too much in the prior movie because all she was kind of doing was just screaming and running around and ending up in very convenient locations. But this one, she had more to do. I didn't like her at first, though, because she had that annoying child, why won't you let me go out tantrum, not understanding what's going on.
I mean, but I feel like she was fair. I don't think I was as irritated with her as I was with Owen because of that. At the beginning of this film, you know, Owen, Claire, and Maisie are kind of living off the grid. They're taking care of her, but they don't want her to go out and about because, you know, they don't want her to get caught as being a high-profile clone, I guess you can say. But, you know, Owen's solution to that is just keep her in this house forever, locked away in the middle of nowhere with just them. And it's just not practical. And it was just very, you know, stereotypical, I guess, dad. I don't know. But it just didn't make sense. Claire's kind of the voice of reason. Like, we can't keep her locked up forever. She's 14. And, yeah. So, Owen was the one that irritated me more. Like, I understood why she was being upset. And it was very, you know, a teenage thing to do.
Hey, well, they had years to think up of a plan to, you know, allow her to go out. And I've had 2 days, and I just applied thought to it 2 minutes ago. Why not cut off her hair and dye it?
Yeah, there's like no effort to like change her appearance at all.
It's exactly the same. Like just doll her up in makeup, cut her hair, dye it. I've seen a million of spy movies. It works out.
I think something that's incredibly unrealistic in this film, though, is one that like the average person is going to see her and be like, oh, that's that clone girl. And also the same thing with Alan Grant and Ellie Sattler and Dr. Malcolm, too. Every time they're on a stage, they're like, oh my gosh, you're Alan Grant. Oh my gosh, you're Dr. Ellie Sattler.
And everybody's
like,
read the book.
Yeah, and everybody's read the book. But like thinking about me, like, I don't know what these scientists, paleontologists all look like. Like if I like ran into a famous paleontologist on the street, I'm probably not even going to recognize it. I'm not going to know. I mean, might know them by name, possibly, if I'm really into that, but I don't think I'll remember all the faces of all the scientists working in modern times. Like, maybe if it's like a high-profile, like, historical scientist, I don't know, but not this.
No, I never understood that.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes, even with the music I listen to, I could easily walk past one of them and not recognize them.
Oh, absolutely. And also, you just don't always, like, think. Like, you're not used to seeing celebrities in a normal environment, so you're not always gonna, like, recognize them. Alan Grant, maybe, because he wears that freaking hat everywhere. I don't think he changes his clothes very often.
No, he's much like that one person that played a big role and never changes out of the costume.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's Alan.
Granted, Ian Malcolm, you would notice him because the cover of his book is him. A large picture of him.
That's true. Which is also very on brand for Ian.
Yes. And Jeff Goldblum. I feel like Jeff Goldblum wrote a book. That would be it, too.
Absolutely. I'd buy it. I will say it was funny. My boyfriend coming out, it's like, you know, he was really young in the other movies, but he's just looking so old. Like Jeff Goldblum, he's just looking so old. He's looking, like, kind of rough. I said, this is the best he's ever looked. I think this is the hottest I found Ian Malcolm in all the series.
Yeah, I remember when he, like, I don't know, there was just this kind of resurgence from Jeff Goldblum. It's kind of during the Thor Ragnarok time. And yeah, I remember seeing all these posts about all these people drooling over Jeff Goldblum and the way he aged up.
It's true. Fine wine. I mean, he was charismatic when he was younger. I mean, I liked him when he was younger, but I didn't think he was hot because he was charismatic. Now he's charismatic and hot, so, you know. Fine wine. Silver Fox.
Cooled off yet? Want to continue?
I'm good. So what did you think about the new characters other than Ditch and Lockman? I said there's a lot of hot people in this film, so I can't be too mad at it. Also, there's Kayla Watts is a new character that was introduced to this. We already talked about Ramsey a little bit, but we didn't really talk about Kayla much at all. She kind of comes in as a pilot character, and, you know, she's another character that I just thought was incredibly beautiful. And I think part of it, and something that I do think that the Jurassic World series, the trilogy, does right, is character design. I think her character design was well done. I talked about Deacon Lockman. I really liked her character design in this, even if you didn't think it was too practical. If you want to talk about Danielle Pineda?
Pineda?
I think it's Pineda.
Yeah, it's probably Pineda.
Her character design, specifically in Fallen Kingdom, I thought she was super cute with her glasses and short hair, you know, her little attitude. Like, I feel like character design is something that we do well, so props to the costume designers and the makeup artists in this film.
Even Justin Smith was just that annoying nerd in the last one. But this one, he kind of got what the kids call a glow up, I think. Like he just seemed more confident in himself. He was more mature. I think I think the designs look great. I think it's just, like the costuming is just good. Like the costume department, I don't just mean costumes, I mean like the way people were dressed as well. Like the outfit Ramsey was wearing. I was like, dang, that's a nice fit. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the new characters, I don't know, they were here. None of them, I think Ramsey was one of the better ones. Your one girl I didn't care for as an antagonist, as a villain. And then we don't really get much time with Justin Smith and Pineda.
Well, so Daniela Pineda, she was actually supposed to be in another scene, and I know what scene that she was supposed to be in, but she couldn't due to COVID, so this film had to go on a bit of delay because of COVID, so when it picked up, she was no longer able to do that additional scene.
Gotcha.
But so what did you think of Kayla, played by DeWanda Wise?
She was probably my favorite addition. I liked her dialogue as well. It felt natural. I wonder if some of it was improv. I liked her audition the most.
Yeah, I agree. I really liked her as a character. I don't think I liked how she joined into the story.
That's
it didn't really make too much sense
coincidence.
To me. It's crazy coincidence. I guess we'll talk a little bit more about in the spoiler section. But her how she gets roped into this didn't really make a lot of sense. Like I said, this is that issue with the writing. But as far as, what she does and what she adds to this, I did really enjoy her character. So I think we've had a lot to say about this film, even without the spoilers. But I do think we are going to go ahead into our classified section, go into the sub-levels of biotech now. So if you haven't seen this film yet, I do want to say it does seem like we're really ragging on this film, but there are a lot of things that I really liked. Like I said, if you just want cool dino moments, honestly, just for that, I think it's worth it. If you want the nostalgia, I think it's absolutely worth it.
I would say, if you're here just for the enjoyment, if you're able to turn your brain off, I don't want to sound pretentious when I say that. I don't want to say you have to go you don't have to be as dumb as the writing, but if you're not going into it with that critical thinking, like I said, I enjoyed most of it. I enjoyed it. It wasn't until I actually got thinking about it and it started to fall apart for me. But I also think, honestly, it doesn't really matter too much of what our recommendation is, because I think if you want to see this movie, you're going to see this movie. I think the question people are going to have is, should I go out in theaters and watch it? And I think for a spectacle blockbuster like this, it is worth the theater experience. I also think if you have kids or you have a family, you're planning to take them out, this is a fun enough movie.
So I think we're going to go ahead and get into our classified discussion, like I said. And we're also going to talk about, do we feel that this film was needed in this franchise? Do we feel like it fit? And we're also going to give our letter grade and to talk about where this film ranks with the other films in this franchise. So let's go ahead and get into that classified section.
I'm not sure if I have too many spoilers like that need to be talked about. I would say this, the movie is predictable. The movie is so predictable, that's probably why I can't really find a point to talk about. The movie, actually I kind of wish I mentioned that in my non-spoiler review. This movie is very predictable. You know what's going to happen. And towards the end, it sort of kind of dragged for me because I knew. It got to that point where I saw there was no hope for this to be unique. And I just had to go with the emotions. I have some spoilery nitpicks, but I'll say that for the end.
I don't have nitpicks, but I have things that I would like to discuss that I think are spoiler related. And I want to talk a little bit again about Alan's characterization, because I said that there are things with Alan and Ellie's relationship and just his story arc that I wanted to talk a little bit more in depth in a spoiler capacity. And so my issue with Alan, I love Alan, like I said, Alan and Ellie, even more than Ian Malcolm, are my favorite characters in this franchise. I love them to death. Ellie is my favorite female character, female hero protagonist in all film altogether, point blank. But I do love Alan. Alan has a very special place for me, and I just think he's a really great protagonist. My issue with this is because there are so many characters, he never felt like a protagonist. He was your protagonist of your franchise. And I was looking today at the Funko Pop figures that were coming out for Jurassic World Dominion, and there's a Walmart exclusive Alan, but of the normal lineup, there's no Alan. They have an Ellie, they have an Ian Malcolm, there's no Alan. And this is your protagonist of your franchise. I'm sorry. If you had to point to one protagonist, it's not Ian Malcolm, it's not Owen, whatever the heck his name is, it's Alan Grant. And so that irritated me. And in this movie, they made him just kind of this bumbling, socially awkward character that doesn't really add much more than just pine over Ellie. And even worse than that, you had the first Jurassic Park, all about him having a character growth, getting to be in a position where he wants to have a family possibly. He feels more good about being around kids. He doesn't want to be alone. He likes the companionship of the people he's with. Just for him to spend all these years just alone in a hole digging for dinosaurs, and there's no connection that he makes or anything outside of Ellie. I mean, I absolutely want Ellie and Alan together, but I felt like it kind of felt mean for him to have that development in the first Jurassic Park and then have him spend a whole entire life just alone. I mean, even in Jurassic Park 3, you see that he has this connection to Billy, who is a student that he's mentoring with his paleontology work in this site. But I feel like after that, if you look at this film, it's just about him being completely alone. And he's had nothing in his life that's worthwhile because the only thing that made it worthwhile was Ellie, and that was not the character in Jurassic Park 1 at all.
This is a problem with legacy characters, and we talked about this during Maverick as well. There's a lot of times with these legacy characters, they bring them back in, and it's like they have to start them at the bottom, and that's how you make a story. Because if you do anything additional to that character that is positive, then you are growing your character by default. And again, that's just poor writing. We've seen it in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, even though it wasn't the original actress, of course, but we still saw her with her whole life devoted to chasing this killer, and she wasn't able to do anything else. See with Jamie Lee Curtis, we saw it with David Arquette in Scream, we saw it with Keanu Reeves in Matrix. The only place we didn't see it, and we liked it, was Tom Cruise. Now, but Tom Cruise, was his character perfect? Was his character perfectly in Euphoria? No, he had his issues, but he was still living a good life. He had his own planes. He had a good mission going on. You found out that, he didn't go through his career ranks because of, he had other problems, but it's not like he had a drinking problem and was down on his luck, had been demoted 40 times. No, he just had other things going on. He was a complex character. And to write complex characters, you actually need to write.
Yeah, and Tom Cruise's where he was at in Maverick felt like a natural progression to where he was at in the previous film. The films never depicted Alan as being down on his luck at all. And like I said before, that the beauty of their relationship in the first film was that they both did have very fulfilling lives and fulfilling careers, and then they came together. And so they had that equality and power balance, and it was great from a feminist point of view, but it was also great from a character point of view for both of them. And so you kind of dismantle that in this, where you see that he's lacking. His career is not fulfilling to him anymore. He's not a fulfilled person.
Yeah, there's man, I'm just giving it thought right now. There's so much more you could have done with his character and still had him be successful in certain points and not just down on his luck. You could have tapped into, like I said before, the dinosaur-related PTSD, feeling like, he moved on and was able to do this research, but he was never able to complete what Jurassic Park has showed him had been corrupted, and him wanting to go on sort of, not so much of a redemption, but sort of just a closing to an open page in his life. And actually, they were super close. They kind of hinted that he had a drinking problem, now that I think about it, because he asked Ellie if she wants a beer, and she says, no, it's 10 a.m. So, man, god dang, the writing in this film is lazy. It's so lazy and basic and in such a studio move that, it doesn't do anything. It's upsetting to see these characters brought back and seeing that they can do something just for them not to do anything. And it's sad for especially Alan Grant, because he is Jurassic Park. Like, that's why it was so exciting for him to be brought back in the third one. The third one, if anything, man, you were excited to see, because in the second one you're like, oh, where's Alan Grant? And then he comes back, you're like, what's up, buddy?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I enjoy seeing him, and there are some things that I like. Like I said, I like that the mutual respect that they have for each other. There's still not, even though he's pining for her, he doesn't objectify her as a source for him to pine upon, and he still views her as a professional, and there is a mutual trust between them, which I really like. So there are things that I did enjoy, but like I said, overall his characterization was lacking for me.
Yeah, I'm so tired of this trope.
I will say Ian Malcolm, though, had a great line in this film, even though, like I said, I think that he was a little bit, his inclusion were probably the worst for me of the legacy characters, but he does have a wonderful line. He calls our corporate character, our corporate villain, a rapacious rat bastard, and for me that stood out.
Yeah, that was good.
That was a good line. So it's not all bad lines that he got. There were some times with like when he was trying to figure out the code on the locked door, that there were some lines I didn't really like. I like that he was like, okay, let's talk about the possibilities, because I'm like, okay, yes, this is a mathematician. It makes sense that he's going to be talking about this, but sometimes he got a little too bumbling. He did a little Jeff Goldblum bumble, but it kind of went a little too far into the comic side of things.
Yeah, it's that blockbuster humor. Hey man, we're dying over here, but yeah, crack some jokes.
Yeah. I mean, part of that is Ian Malcolm, but not entirely. Ian Malcolm could be serious at times, which we saw in The Lost World. For me personally, I talked about this offline in our chat. I said that The Lost World, Ian Malcolm felt a little out of character to me. I don't think that Jurassic World fully brings him out of character, but, there was definitely some comedy moments with him.
Yeah, some other points.
Yeah, I didn't know if you had anything else to say about that.
No, like I said, all I really have for spoilers is nitpicks.
Okay, yeah, I have more spoiler things. I want to talk a little bit about the science in this film. And there's a couple of different things for that. Like I said, Jurassic Park is not the most scientifically accurate in forms of dinosaur science. There's one dinosaur in this film that I really enjoyed, which is the Therizinosaurus. This is the feathered dinosaur that you see with the long talons. I will say this is not a scientifically accurate dinosaur depiction because this was an herbivore. Their long nails was mostly used to forage off of trees. Most likely, we don't know for sure about if it had feathers or not. This is a pretty new dinosaur that was discovered, relatively new, I think a couple of years ago. I think in 2005 or so, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong. But, I like that they included this dinosaur. I think that this dinosaur is probably the creepiest dinosaur possibly in this whole franchise. I don't know. I think the compies might need to take a step aside for me, because I thought this dinosaur was creepy as heck, and I loved it. I loved seeing it. I absolutely love this dinosaur, even if it was scientifically inaccurate.
Well, it never showed it eating meat, so it never said it was a carnivore.
It didn't, but it showed it using its talons to destroy prey, which...
It was in its way.
Did it do that? I guess we can't fully count it out, but likely foraging was what it was for. And going up against the other carnivores as it kind of set it up as another apex predator to me towards the end.
It did, but at the same time, when the dinosaur fell into his talons, I felt that it didn't know what happened. It didn't mean for it to happen. Like it was trying to calm somebody down, and they backed them up, and their head hit a doorknob, and they died, and they didn't know what to do. He's like, oh man, there's so much blood.
I didn't get that. That dinosaur was creepy.
Oh no,
I think it totally meant that.
No, it was definitely creepy. I think anything with long fingers is creepy. Even E.T. can't escape the creepiness factor because of his long fingers.
Well, also just the eyes whited out. This is another example. Like I said, feathers on a dinosaur too can be absolutely terrifying.
Yes, but yeah, it was a cool design. That's one of the ones I said. And as far as cool dinosaur designs, that one was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely loved it. This might be one of my favorite dinosaurs in Jurassic Park now. Even more of a Giganosaurus, which is the other main bad guy in this film, the Giganosaurus, and then also we had the Pyroraptor, which was our second feathered dinosaur in this. And I think for me, the Pyroraptor was more of what I'm used to seeing when you talk about feathered dinosaurs. An example when you talk about raptors with wings. but I like the Pyroraptor. I think that it swimming underwater was a bit of a stretch. Obviously, there's no justification for that. That's just a Jurassic World thing. But I did think it looked pretty cool, other than the swimming underwater.
I don't know how it didn't get Owen.
I don't know either.
There's a lot of times. Actually, speaking of that, man, these dinosaurs must have learned how to run, or they must have been always in captivity and don't get much exercise, because they ran like Ghostface. I thought they had on roller skates half the times. The Velociraptors, anytime it had to turn a corner, it just could not do it.
They were a bit clumsy. I agree with that.
Every time they go on, I just hear do 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 do.
It's another thing as far as the science goes is Maisie's storyline. We got to learn more about her mother and how Maisie kind of came about. And so Maisie is the result of genetic cloning of a scientist. Charlotte, I believe her mother's name was.
Yes, and she's the result of sin.
Yes, the result of sin. But Maisie had a genetic condition that caused her to die pretty early. So before she died, did I say Maisie?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
sorry.
they're literally the same.
Yeah, they are the same. So Charlotte had a genetic condition that caused her to die early. But before she did die, she made sure that she was able to edit Maisie's DNA sequencing in order to not have that genetic mutation. And for me, this was a particularly interesting story from a personal level, and just having an interest in genetic editing on a human level. But I felt like for me, personally, I would have expected a slightly more to this story. I think that it treated this as a huge thing, but, you know, if you're in the scientific community, I think we're already starting to kind of test that out. You know, there's a lot of conversations on the ethics of like CRISPR as far as gene editing goes. And so I felt like for me that it felt a little behind on the times almost. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. But I think it's still on point. Like, it may be a little bit behind, but the topic is current still. So it may have not jumped on in the beginning, but it's still... I mean, it's still here. It's like talking about racism. We're talking about racism. It's not like it just started, but it's still going on, so we can still talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying, but I think just the idea that, oh my gosh, this is a huge scientific discovery, and we've only learned this through dinosaurs about how we can edit human sequencing.
Yeah. Since this is supposed to be futuristic.
Since it's supposed to be futuristic, it felt a little bit weird. I mean, obviously, like, we're not to the point of cloning, but as far as gene editing, obviously we have some scientific advancements there. We're not fully there, but there are conversations about that and conversations about CRISPR and other gene editing. And also with the locust, I didn't understand how Blue and Beta, Blue's child, being genetically similar to or genetically the same to her parent, how that Maisie and the locust were all connected on a scientific level. And the idea of introducing a disease or a genetic modification to change the way in which locusts or animals or whatever have you, an organism operates, that's not really new science either, you know, in order to prevent disease. Like, there's all this science that I just felt like wasn't necessarily cutting edge, that didn't really make sense from a futuristic standpoint. And I didn't understand how they all really fit together between those three separate species and organisms.
So in this world, the gene splicing was only done by Charlotte perfectly. Like, she was the only successful one to do it. So that's why they had to take Maisie to see like how her DNA was actually altered. I guess looking at the wounds, the stitch marks of her DNA would lead to them finding out. So I got that. And as far and because they would be able to split the genes in that way, they can do it with the locust. So that's how those two species relate. And the raptor, well, Blue is from the previous movies, and people like him, and that's why he was there.
I would die for Beta and Blue.
There was no reason.
I love them. I don't care. I love them. I love them so much. I love them so much.
No, they're great. They don't make any sense of why they get captured and put into these situations. Blue's like, dude, I'm just a dinosaur. Why do you need me again? Like the getting brought in for Fallen Kingdom, which Blue wasn't even used for. before anything for the Indoraptor. And then, yeah, we have this baby raptor that gets taken for no reason. Yeah, it has nothing to do with the gene splice. We just need that dinosaur there. That dinosaur's going to sell toys. Caitlyn, stop questioning it.
I'll buy it. I'll buy the beta toys. But I think that if you wanted to do an approach again about the whole life finds a way, in the first movie you had animals reproducing because they were able to change their sex based on the amphibian DNA that they were given. And so this film had a creature that was able to reproduce solely, I guess, asexually, because of the DNA that they were given. So I think it goes into, I guess, irresponsibility on the genes that were given into their makeup, but also just the idea that life finds a way. But I don't think that this film was smart enough to fully go into that. And I think that's my problem with this film, is that a lot of these scientific questions that it's going into, the film itself was just not smart enough to tackle them.
I thought with the locust, though, they were both genders. They were able to reproduce.
I'm talking about Beta and Blue.
Beta. This movie isn't smart enough to just write a story, so no, it's not smart enough to do the science.
Yeah, I mean, I liked the scientific things that it started to propose. I just feel like execution, it just did not work. But I like I said, I really wish that we would have had more on Maisie and her cloning and the science of that and the ramifications. And like I said, the science was starting to go there and it just didn't propose an interesting story. It was just, oh, this is so cutting edge and we're just gonna do all this stuff, and then it didn't really anything other than that. It just wasn't there.
No, I wonder if Michael Crichton, is that his name? Crichton. I wonder if Michael Crichton had that in his book. Do you know, like all the science?
From what I understand, that there was more science to it. I haven't read the entire book of Michael Crichton's book. I own it. I need to continue reading it at some point. Like I said, it goes more into biosyn. Dr. Wu is a huge character in the book versus what he was in the original Jurassic Park and the science that he does. So, but I don't know specifics.
Well, see, that's the thing. Like Michael Crichton, he developed all this, and now it's the same thing we saw with Game of Thrones. They need to go past the source material, but they're not the writers of the source material. They don't have that knowledge or that same ability to write what he wrote.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that even the first two movies are loose adaptations, Lost World especially, from what I'm hearing.
But the first one had that science, like that science.
Yeah, and I think the first one, yeah, the dino DNA. But I feel like the first movie, it had the science, and while it wasn't perfect, it wasn't entirely accurate in some places, it wanted to go into the ramifications of said science, and I think it did that excellently.
Which is what I'm saying. They didn't have the source material, because Michael Crichton, his books, yeah, they adapted from his books, but now that we have movies that are going past his books, outside of his books, they don't know how to do the science like he did.
Yeah, I mean, I think the real problem is that, like I said, this is a blockbuster, this is an action movie, they want butts and seats. So, like, for it to kind of take a next level and do something smarter, I don't know if they just don't think it'll sell or what they're really thinking. But, the first movie obviously did great at balancing both, so I just don't understand why we can't balance both more here.
Because there's no good writers behind this. There's a studio, that's it, and a distributor.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? And no Spielberg.
Yeah, Spielberg and, whoever, I forget who wrote the first one. But also Spielberg had, even during that time, Spielberg had more push, I believe. So a studio wasn't going to direct his movie, or it wasn't going to direct him to direct. Wu's redemption, God, that was poorly written as well. Because granted, Wu in the first one, he made dinosaurs. Like that was his thing. He did what he had to do. He was a scientist that kind of went a little bit too far. He wasn't a mad scientist yet. And then we get to Jurassic World, and yeah, he's a mad scientist. He makes the Indominus Rex and doesn't tell anybody all the things that he did to actually make that thing, like, which I don't understand why they had to keep that classified. Like, that's a security risk. If something is made out of a velociraptor and something is able to camouflage, that should be known to people. All right, that should be a known fact. Like, you can't, yeah. So, and then in Jurassic World 2, he makes the Indoraptor. Again, he makes a illegal weapon. He does war crimes. And in this one, he makes the locust. And granted, he fixes that issue And I emphasize that because that's the only issue he fixed and he gets redemption for. Okay, yeah, he went back and realized he went too far with the locust, which is weird. The locust was his breaking point, not...
That's what that was my thing. Like, all those other things you did, this is the only one you feel bad about?
Yeah, and again, you could have wrote it to where he brings up, like, dude, I've had so much blood on my hands, and now you want me to basically kill off the world. Easy line. I mean, he did look disheveled and everything, like he just looked tired. But we get this scene with him in a wheat field releasing the locust to join with the other locusts to correct his mistake. But I'm wondering, so once he did that and he smiles and everything, he's getting back in the police van, right? Like he's going to
Yeah.
get arrested. Don't make this villain seem like he's now great for fixing a problem he created and not and not facing the consequences of his past mistakes. None of his past mistakes, like, I can see that if he was arrested and they had this locust issue and he decided to help him out, as if he didn't design the locust. But when you designed it and now you try to correct the problem, granted, good on you, mate. That's fine, cool. You fixed the issue. I mean, I'm pretty sure you did some damage. Those kids are horrified, but you fixed it. And that doesn't make you a great character. That's not a character arc resolved. Don't put him in a wheat field smiling in the sun.
Yeah, I would say that, honestly, Dr. Wu, played by BD Wong, I think this is his storyline was probably my least favorite part of the whole entire film. Like, of all the things in this film, like, this is the part that just, like, I just did not like at all. Because why was this the line? Of all the things he did, why was this the line? And I think it said that he got pardoned, didn't it?
Oh, they better not have.
I'm pretty
it's
sure
not going to change my ranking, but it may change my rating.
I'm pretty sure in the epilogue it said he got pardoned, but I could be wrong. Or something. They were saying, oh, scientists, or maybe it was a scientist who we won't name, saved the day. Like, he got props for it, like, in the news or whatever.
Yeah, no, he's just definitely not. I mean, maybe get pardoned for that one crime. I can see him taking a plea deal in where he gets pardoned for the locust, but he still faces 3 life sentences for his war crimes and is put into debt for the rest of his life.
I don't know. I do kind of forget what it said at the end, but I absolutely agree. And he was looking rough. And, like, he had his arm broken, and I'm not really sure why. I don't remember when he broke his arm, but, like, most of the movie, he was just there holding his arm.
He was holding a bag.
Yeah, but he did break his arm, because at the end he saw him in a cast.
Yeah, I don't remember that at all.
You see him in a cast, he's holding his arm, but I don't remember why he broke his arm or how he did it. I think something else that made me mad too is that in the epilogue, you see that Alan and Ellie are getting ready to give a speech on the dinosaurs. You know, now they're finally in the world and they have to learn to coexist, and they're going to give a speech on it and what all this damage that was done by biosyn and all this other stuff. But I wanted to see that speech. I wanted to see that speech and I wasn't able to.
Yeah, that didn't feel like a proper conclusion. Knowing now it's biosyn and Dawson was involved, I can kind of see the wraparound, but still with them saying like they're going to end it all, it's like you just stole locust DNA. Like, you're just fixing the locust problem. We still have this whole Jurassic World, Dominion, coexisting thing going on. I was like, yeah, this little girl playing with a dinosaur, that's cool and all, but we still need to address this. Also, they barely explain how it got this out of control. I can understand few incidents and few populated areas, but it doesn't explain like how this is a very, very daily occurrence for everybody. Also, allowing Blue and the baby raptor just to roam around in the woods. What? Does he own all that land or something? Is that land fenced off? What if somebody goes camping?
Now, this is what confused me after Fallen Kingdom, because at the end of Fallen Kingdom, he tries to take her with him, and she says, you're not putting me in a cage, and just leaves him. So how did they, like, rejoin up with each other and just happen to be in the same space?
There were so many other questions I had. I didn't bother with that one. I had that one for a second, and I was like, I don't expect them to answer that. But there were some other things I couldn't look past, just like a raptor just roaming around in the woods.
In the cold. I don't know that raptors were suited for the cold. But I do like Blue and Beta, and I think that, you know, that had a parallel to Claire's story, which I said I really liked in this film. A lot more than I thought I was going to. I think that she was a shining part of this movie for me. And she really did take a motherhood role towards Maisie, and it was natural. It wasn't something that the story shoved her into like it tried to in Jurassic World, but it just felt natural.
Yeah, I think in Jurassic World to Fallen Kingdom, it was a bit of a stretch. It didn't really explain the transition, but seeing the transition from Fallen Kingdom to this, seemed more natural. Granted,
Agreed.
from the first one to this one, there's a gap missing, but the rest is filled.
Yeah, I just pretend that her characterization in Jurassic World didn't exist. What was some things that you liked about this that you haven't had a chance yet to talk about?
Nothing more than what I talked about during the non-spoilers. The dinosaur scenes were fun. I liked the raptor car chase. Some new characters were interesting. Costume choices were good. Like I said, I had a fun time for the most part. I wasn't bored. I didn't really feel the runtime, to be honest.
Did you? Yeah, I didn't feel the runtime either at all. Were there returning characters that you liked? Like I said, I really liked Claire, and it could be a legacy character too, but were there any returning characters that you really liked?
I think Laura Dern was the best, but I don't think there was enough there. Like, I still think it fell short. No, I mean, nobody shined. I think some people were dim, but I don't think anybody shined.
Yeah, I don't know, but I agree with that. But I do like Laura Dern's character in this as well. I mean, it's hard not to like Laura Dern,
Yeah.
even freaking in that awful the Rise of Skywalker. Is that it? No, what's the second one?
God dang, now you got me confused.
That second, or not second, that
The Rise of the Jedi? The
eighth,
the Rian Johnson one, the second one.
the Rian Johnson Star Wars film.
Wasn't it the Rise of the Jedi? No, that was the Rise of Skywalker.
The Last of the Jedi?
The Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi.
You know why we couldn't remember that? Because it makes no sense.
Even her in The Last Jedi, I had to just give her props for being Laura Dern. She succeeds whatever she's doing, even if it's a character that makes no sense and a plot that's freaking awful. At least her acting's going to shine, if nothing else. Let's hear your nitpicks, Bryant. I know you've been holding on to them.
I've been holding on to my nitpicks. Because, like I said, honestly, I don't really have too much to say about the spoilers. So this is all I had. That black market scene, actually, this isn't so much a nitpick. That black market scene was, I feel like I was back in the 80s with Jim Henson puppets.
A little bit. I kind of liked that, though.
It was, I don't know, it just kind of took me out because it reminded me so much of the 80s during that time when they had, like, the creatures and the puppets. Like, we talked about it last week, but
some dinosaurs look like freaking Muppets. It's just how it is.
Yeah, but that scene, like, it wasn't even just them being puppets. It was just like how the whole area was set up. Like, it felt like a dystopia. Like, it's just the way that people were dressed and what they were doing. Like, why is this a area where everybody's coming around to do, like, is this really how a black market is set up? We saw in the last movie how, you know, everybody came in their suit and they were real professional. And then here it's just like, I don't know. Again, I felt like this was like the post-apocalypse, like they were slave trading, and like with all the, it wasn't so much the dinosaurs, it was like the people. But then, you know, you look at the dinosaurs, just kind of think about David Bowie just coming out and singing as well, and everybody joining him. It was just, I don't know. It felt like something from the 80s and 90s to me.
You're not wrong. David Bowie would have absolutely fit into that scene.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of that song too.
Yeah.
The dance, something dance.
Dance, magic dance.
Yeah, exactly. You could put him in there.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. He would have fit in perfectly. Although that does remind me another spoilery thing that I wanted to talk about, because I talked about Kayla Watts a little bit in our non-spoiler discussion, but I thought that her like inclusion into this plot didn't make any sense. You know, so you have Claire and Owen going into this black market, and the first thing they're told, don't talk to anyone.
Exactly.
Don't make eye contact with anything, nothing. What's the first thing Claire does? Oh my gosh, you're American. Let me tell you exactly who I am and what I'm doing here.
I have it in my notes. What did I write? Where's my daughter? That's what I wrote in my notes because I couldn't believe, like, she was just told not to make contact. Why is she even here by herself? And you're telling me the first person she meets that's American, for some reason Americans trust American. No. But you're telling me the first person she meets just so happened to also be a drug smuggler or a dinosaur smuggler that saw her daughter at the airstrip and also has a way to get her to where her daughter is at?
And said person cares so much that she didn't take action that she now needs to accompanying them on this. So I thought there was gonna be more to her story. So on like her, like obviously there's a connection to her airplane. You saw a picture of her and her mother on her dashboard of her airplane. So I thought there's gonna be like some kind of emotional connection to Jurassic Park that, made her want to help with this. Nope, none of that.
Oh yeah, there was a picture. That was it was never explored.
Nope, never.
She too was a daughter once.
I was a daughter once. Man. Great character.
Yeah.
But it just did not make sense how she came to be in that situation.
No. So my nitpick actually goes into that, and it's something I mentioned before. And I don't know why. I feel like I kind of got obsessive over this, but I think because I think I'm the only one that's seen it. Do they not understand how money works? Like, do they not understand the worth of money in this franchise, in this trilogy? Because every time that I watch this movie, there was a moment I was like, that's not a lot of money. So with this film, this being our central topic, she smuggles dinosaurs for $50K. And the mercenary, he gets told that they will give him $50,000, or it's like some other money. Like, I don't know. It's not a money I've seen before. I'm not sure what's greater than the dollar. So I don't know what, like, even if you said 50,000 euros, that's not enough money for me and my team to go ahead and transport a pack of raptors. If you're thinking about it, he has a team of 5, right? So you have him and his passenger in that truck, and then you're going to have an escort vehicle with 2 to 3 people. That's like that's either 10 or a little over 10 grand per person to transport raptors. You can make more money doing Uber Eats transporting food than raptors. I was like, 50K is not enough. I was like, do you guys not know what 50K is? Like, what are they paying you? I feel like the studio got their mind mixed up and it was like, yeah, to do this movie, I want to give you guys $10,000. Like, is that a lot? Yes. Because they never had, he's coming from doing indie movies, so 20,000 may seem like a lot to him. And I don't know where Emily Carmichael came from. So, and the second one, I noticed it the first time. So Fallen Kingdom, they're selling the dinosaurs, and they sell the dinosaurs for $10 million. They're like, we can make $11 million on each dinosaur. That's not a lot of money for a dinosaur. You can make a low budget movie for that amount of money. You can buy a low budget movie for $11 million. And that's not a big spending. These dinosaurs should be going for way, way more than $10 million.
Maybe it depends on what kind of dinosaur.
No, the first dinosaur they showed was sold for 10 mil, and they said that on average, each dinosaur will sell for 11 mil. It wasn't until the prototype that they were selling it for 20 mil. Now, granted, they only sold 4 species and they made like 100, so they made like 25, and I guess, another 25 on the others, or around that. But that's still not a lot of money. Like, art goes for that amount. You can buy houses for that much. You can get a mansion for 10 mil. Not a genetically cloned dinosaur.
So in Fallen Kingdom, what were the numbers that the dinosaurs were going for in the auction?
That's what I'm saying. They were going for 11 mil.
In the auction?
Yeah.
In Fallen Kingdom?
Yeah, in Fallen Kingdom. I'm on Fallen Kingdom now.
Oh, I thought this was in Dominion.
No. This is the second one.
In the black market. Oh, okay.
The black market, I don't know. But looking at all those dudes, I guess they were going for like a couple $1,000. You get your daughter one for Christmas. Hey, your shady uncle bought you a Triceratops. Yeah, so Fallen Kingdom, they were getting auctioned for like 11 mil. And this is why they're not super popular. So you're telling me a one-in-a-lifetime dinosaur, and you're going to buy it for what essentially is a mansion? Oh,
so I thought that this was in Dominion, which I'm like, maybe just because maybe that particular breed is not as rare or whatever. They had some like kind of low-level dinosaurs in there, but no, that makes more sense with the auction.
Yeah, supply and demand.
Yeah.
And then I was watching Jurassic World again. I didn't notice the first time, but this time I noticed it. They said go after it with less than lethal rounds because they want to capture it because it's a $26 million investment. $26 million does sound like a lot to you and I, or unless you got some side business that I don't know about or you're pocketing from the podcast.
No comment.
Yeah. But I did the math because I was like 26 mil is not a lot for this company. So first off, say this is $1 billion corporation, because this has to be $1 billion corporation at least, right? Like we can agree this has to be at least worth $1 billion. So that comes out to 2.6% of their revenue, $1 million. That's it. Now, if you ask me like, hey, we have the possibility of millions of people dying, or you can save, or not millions, you have the chance to save 100 to 1,000 people, or you lose 2.6% of your income. Like, take the 2.6%. I don't care. Like, what? So, and then I did the math further, because then I was sitting down and I got kind of bored. I was like, wait a minute, how much is Disney worth? Disney is worth, like, net income, not all their assets and everything. Net income, $97 billion.
Whew.
So I did the math on half of that. I looked it up and I was like, so this theme park with dinosaurs has to be worth at least $50 billion. So $50 billion is 0.052%, a half of a percent of your income to save thousands of lives? Really? Not even thousands of lives, just the 5 lives that you're sending at it with non-lethals. You really think non-lethals are going to work against the smartest, most killer? You guys made a living weapon.
Yeah, I didn't notice any of this, but I'm glad you're bringing it up.
Right? I'm not wrong.
You're not wrong.
And that's what I mean. Something's wrong with the screenwriting. Like they were held in captivity as well or something.
Another moment in the movie that kind of just had me like, WTF, was during the plane crash scene. You know, it's kind of a cool moment because, you know, pterosaurs are creatures that ever since the third film, I think they've been given a little bit more power and we have a little bit more awareness of just how large and dangerous they are. So you have this moment where the Quetzalcoatlus pterosaur is taking down the plane being piloted by Kayla's character with Claire and Owen inside. And of course, the plane only has one parachute because, you know, that's what happens when plane crashes happen in a movie, in an action movie. So they give it to Claire. And Claire gets parachuted off into the jungle where all the apex predators are. And the other two, Kayla and Owen, they just have a plane crash and, you know, they survive it somehow, even though they don't have a parachute, but they are perfectly fine. They have to deal with some dinosaurs as well, but they're okay. But I was just thinking, I was like, Claire might have been better just staying in the plane.
I thought the same exact thing. I was like, but then I couldn't blame the movie because I thought, well, what would I have done in this situation? It wouldn't probably be until I was in midair that I would have thought, I should have stuck with the plane.
Like, I just kept imagining her just parachuting down and then just right into the mouth of a Spinosaurus.
Yeah, it's...
like, oh, that's it.
And then they went looking for her, so they had to go through the jungle as well. But what was her plan, like, if they died in the plane? What was she going to do? I guess she started going looking off on her own. And then everybody somehow on this island links up with each other. Yeah. So this, I'm not even going to try to pronounce the flying dinosaur you said. I'm going to be ignorant and just say the pterodactyl. I can't even pronounce Irish names correctly. You want me to pronounce that?
It's not a pterodactyl, but okay.
You know what? It's not what you said either. What it actually was Rodan from Godzilla. Because now that I think about it, that thing single-handedly or single-talonly took down that huge freight plane. A freight plane.
I mean, have you seen how big those things are?
But for it to straight up tear the metal and take out both engines?
Let me look up the wingspan of this thing.
Also, why? Like, why did it go after that?
Like, these things are huge dinosaurs. They're about the size of a giraffe. If it's standing, wingspan is 33 to 36 feet estimated, with a mass of 440 to 550 pounds.
Maybe, but still, that goddamn thing just took it out like it was nothing. Within seconds. They're like, yeah, we're gonna turn this off, and then Rodan comes in and is like, skirt, and just tears that thing apart. That thing is not tearing apart a plane.
I mean, obviously, but I'm just saying that it's a huge dinosaur. It's not a little
Okay, it's not pterodactyl, but it's not Rodan either, is it?
It might be Rodan.
No, it's not coming out of a volcano and taking down jets. But I can go on days nitpicking these movies, but I'll leave it with those. Especially because one of them I put in a lot of time.
So do you feel like this movie was needed, wanted, welcomed, or do you think it was completely pointless?
This movie was needed because it's the conclusion of a trilogy. So I would say that. And I would say that it was wanted because I think the ending, the way the second one ended, was like, all right, cool, let's see how these dinosaurs live out in the world. As far as this whole trilogy, because I would like to talk about the trilogy as a whole as well. I think this was a welcome trilogy. I don't think it was needed necessarily. I think it was very, very welcomed, but I think it showed, like, with Lost World and Jurassic Park 3, people didn't have the highest hopes, but people went out and saw it. This broke records, still a record holder in some specs.
I think that if it was the plot that it had advertised it as, then yes, it was needed and welcome to this particular trilogy, but given the plot that we were given, I'm not sure if I can still say that. So let's talk about our letter grade for this before we get into where we rank this with the rest of the franchise. What is the letter grade that you would give this film?
I'll give this a D.
Ooh, okay.
A D is passing. I mean, I wasn't suffering during this film. I had some fun moments, but man, I could have probably moved this up to a D plus, but the writing, it's some of the worst writing I've seen or witnessed. And I think it's in a way, like, it's disrespectful in a way. Like, I'm not gonna say as being so personal, but with the legacy characters, yeah. And with it being false advertising is also just, I'm like, you had something. Why did you go with this? That's probably the biggest thing, is just being told you're going to get something. And I'm not saying I'm owed anything, I'm promised anything, but if I read the back of the book, I read a summary, and then I read the book and it had nothing to do with what I read, and the reason I was sold on it is because of the summary, then I'm going to have issues. Or if, like, 2/3 of your book is all about this and all comes to this point, and then you totally decide to change course, there's an issue with the book. And not only does it bring down the movie itself, but it brings down the whole trilogy. So it's even more, that even brings my rating down. It's just how it just brings this whole thing down. It's like, wait.
Yeah, I think mine's going to be quite different from yours, because I know we did talk about a lot of negatives, and I kind of mentioned this before we started the podcast, that I felt the negatives were going to impact your rating more than they impacted mine, because at the end of the day, I still had fun with this. I still enjoyed the characters. This is my franchise at the end of the day, so I'm going to give this a B minus.
What?
Yeah, I'm going to give this a B minus. I just love the dinosaurs in this. I love the dinosaur kills, the action. I love the diversity of the dinosaurs. I like that it brought back these characters. I love Laura Dern. I liked Claire's story. I liked the interactions between these characters. There's just so much that I actually really did love, even though it wasn't not a good story. Like I said, I have to bring it down because it's not the story that I necessarily expected. I don't necessarily feel like I was cheated out of anything by the story. Honestly, I think plot-wise, I came in with very low expectations to begin with, so I didn't feel like I was really cheated out of anything. So it's going to be a B minus for me.
I've seen a lot of reviews where people disagree, but they come around to the same rating. I don't think I've ever really seen it to where people agree during the whole thing and come out to completely different ratings.
But I didn't say I agree with you, but it doesn't override the things that I liked about it.
Yeah, and that's where I can't say that I necessarily want to debate and argue with your rating, because you saw where I was coming from. You agree with a lot that I said. So honestly, it's just personal to you at this point. And that's your personal grade.
Yeah, it's personal. It's an enjoyable film to me. And the plot for me doesn't have a huge impact on the things that I liked in this film that were unrelated to the plot. Is this a good rating? No. Is it good character interactions? Yeah. Character design, animal design, the dinosaurs design. I think it had some really fun action sequences. I really liked the characters. Like I said, there's things that I just really liked in this movie, and especially comparatively to the previous films, which I said we'll get into our ranking in a second in this trilogy. But I don't know, there's just things I like. Overall, it's a fun movie. It's not great, but it's fun. Like I said, maybe this is your Kong versus Godzilla. You can give it it's not a good movie, but you still think it's fun for you. And that's what this is for me. It was just a fun movie. It was of characters that I loved. Like I said, I think that some of the characters were disrespected in a way, particularly Alan Grant. But that's why, like I said, it's not an A movie. It's going to be a B minus.
Sounds like for the most part we're saying the same thing, but our letter grades, the way we represent that is different, or not even so much the way we represent it, but also how much the negatives, like you said, impacted me. So
yeah, like I think that we're having the same opinion, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna go rewatch this, and I might rewatch it a couple times. I don't think I see you rewatching this many times.
This one, no, and we'll talk about it a little bit more during my ranking because there's not too many that I wouldn't watch again. But yeah, I mean, this kind of gives you a little hint of where this is going to be ranked for me, but this is not going to be the one I rewatch. Especially during a rewatch, I'm not going to be as enthralled with the spectacle, so I am going to think even more. So even on a first watch, like the spectacle alone wasn't able to take me out of it, I'm going to see more. Just what I do with every film, and sometimes that's great. Sometimes you watch other films like Get Out again, or Lost in Translation, and you notice more, and it's lovely. And other times you watch The Dark Knight one too many times, and you're like, wait, that doesn't add up.
Yeah, I mean, it might be interesting when we get to when we go back and kind of look at our rankings to see if I still give it the same ranking. I do think I need a rewatch of this movie. It's a little too soon, but first reaction of that spectacle, it's a B-. And I said there's only one Jurassic Park film that I truly dislike, and it's not this film. There are a lot that I dislike about it, but I don't dislike this film as a whole. So I think that said, we can go ahead and move into our ranking of this franchise. Are you ready to give your rank from bottom to top?
Bottom to top. Let's go. This actually changed within the past couple days. Actually, this changed yesterday. Because yesterday I rewatched Jurassic World. And as I was rewatching it, I didn't dislike it as much as I did the first time. Though I had the exact same feelings. Because I was like, wait, I remember the first time I watched this, I was like, this is alright. It's like, this isn't that great. And then I remember, I was like, man, but I remember that blue scene with the T-Rex fighting the Indominus just being so totally ridiculous that I was about to walk out. I was like, maybe it wasn't as bad as I thought. And then it happened again. I was like, nope, this is just as bad. But I mentioned earlier during this podcast that the beginning, middle, and end serve a purpose in story, and the beginning sets up. And I think the movie did at least that. I think it set it up, in which the ending was supposed to conclude, and it didn't conclude. It failed. So for my ranking, honestly, these two films, as far as like enjoyment goes, they line up. But when it comes to like, when it comes down, when you look at it more in depth, Jurassic World was better in doing what it had to do, while I think Jurassic World Dominion completely failed. So I would actually say Dominion is the bottom of my list. Then, of course, the one that it beat out, Jurassic World, would be the second from the last. My fourth movie would be, this is where it gets tough. They kind of tie at this point almost. This isn't that big of a gap. It's a big gap between Jurassic World and this movie, which is, I'll say, Jurassic Park 3. The reason, now what it's coming down to is, my enjoyment throughout the film and also moments. Because I think other than my number one, for 4 through 2, they're kind of separated by moments during those real suspenseful moments, like the pros of this franchise, that horror, the practical effects, the dinosaurs, the wonderment, all that comes into play, and that separates these movies. And I think Jurassic Park 3 just did not have enough memorable moments for me. I think one is a tighter film than most of them. I don't think there's many points that drag, especially because it's a short movie. It keeps going. I like that. I appreciate it. But the other movies just beat it out because of certain things during it. I would then have to say it's Fallen Kingdom. I would say Fallen Kingdom is my third favorite. And this is where I really start. Actually, I would say from Jurassic Park 3 and now, this is where I really just enjoy the films. This is where I can easily rewatch them. I wouldn't rewatch World and Dominion. But from now, Jurassic Park 3, I would rewatch. Fallen Kingdom, I would definitely rewatch. I think Fallen Kingdom has some of the most horror in it out of the franchise. I like the fact that it tried to progress the story. It went outside of the island. Now, was the story as tight following that? No. It's a lot of coincidence. A lot of things don't really kind of match up. There's a guy who goes into an Indoraptor cage, but the Indoraptor cage doesn't even have a padlock on it. It's just a lever, which the raptor, if it was as smart as a raptor, we've seen raptors open doors. We see this one open a window, so it could easily open the cage. One of the dumbest things in there, top 10. But I enjoyed the film. It was great. I love seeing that claw reach out from the cage and reach over to the girl over the bed. That's horrifying. Then I would say Lost World. Lost World, I love the RV scene. I like Julianne Moore, of course. I like the velociraptors in the tall grass and seeing their tails go up. Again, it tried to go into the city. It got a bit ridiculous, especially how the T-Rex somehow tactfully executed the captain from the boat. I don't know how it did that without like breaking apart everything else, but just somehow went in there and tear them apart from the arms down. But for the most part, I enjoy that movie. The movie does drag. There's more stupidity in that movie, but man, there's some really good scenes that I like. And I feel like that one, more so than any other, was more of a sequel than, I think it was more than a sequel than the Jurassic Park 3. The Jurassic Park 3 just brought us back there. And of course, number one by a large margin is going to be Jurassic Park, number one. I mean, we don't even really have to say anything about it. Everybody knows how great that movie is. I can talk about it for a whole episode. But there is a large gap in quality between Jurassic World and Jurassic Park. However, there's something that comes right in the middle between those two, and it's not a film. It's Camp Cretaceous on Netflix. I think that show capitalizes on a lot of the pros that we like, and I think it's a great series. I'm not saying it's like one of my favorite series of all time, but I enjoy watching it. And you know, when you want to see dinosaurs and you want to see like those enthralling moments, I think it has it. And it has that suspense and it has that conspiracy, and things are more developed and things feel like they have more character. Of course, they can have more time because it's a TV show. But for anybody that like, man, I want more Jurassic Park, but I'm tired of these bogus sequels, I'll say watch Camp Cretaceous. It looks like a kid's show at first, but it's not so much. There is death in it. There is death in it, and there's actually some brutal dinosaur fights.
I've watched most of the first season, and I've tried to watch it about 3 times now. And for me, it's the juvenile kids show vibe that I get from it that is holding me back. It feels like it's made for preschoolers, in my opinion, and that's why I can't watch any more of it.
I don't get preschoolers. I get younger, like a younger age. Like
I said, I was 3-year-old watching the original Jurassic Park. For me, that's what a kid my age would be watching, for me personally. So watching this, it just kind of felt very juvenile, and it was very difficult for me to get into because I felt like I was in preschool, except I was watching better things in preschool.
I disagree. I think the animation,
it might get better. It might get better than what the original first season was, but the first season for me, I watched most of it, it felt very juvenile, and the characters felt very juvenile, one-dimensional kid show characters.
Right. And I would say for anybody to give it a try. Like I said, it's not my favorite show, but I enjoy it. But again, like I enjoy these movies as well, and admit that these movies aren't that great. But I think the show is better. I think it does more than these sequels have, definitely.
Yeah, maybe I just need to like muck through the first season and then we'll see. Does it get better?
It gets better, but I like the first season, so you may not change your opinion.
I said, I feel like the conflict between the characters was very like Gen Z kind of kiddish type stuff.
Yeah, that part gets better.
Like, oh my god, I'm a social media influencer and you're such a nerd because you like dinosaurs.
Yeah, it starts out very much like that, and they throw that to the side.
Okay.
Especially after the first season. Like, they understand they have their differences and they kind of play to their strengths, but they're not doing that bickering because of the social food chain.
Okay. Yeah, because that was what was holding me back for the most part. It's just that kind of vibe.
Yeah, that did take me out at first. I had to look past that. It wasn't until after season 1 that I started liking the characters more, at least. I'll say for the first season I was enjoying it because it's Jurassic World and there's dinosaurs running amok. Yeah,
so I'll have to give it another try then, one of these days. But let me go ahead and get into my ranking then. And before I really thought about this, or when I started to think about my ranking for the podcast, I was already set on what my number one and my last pick was going to be, and that really hasn't changed. But it's everything kind of in between that's been a little bit more difficult for me, and I know that it's going to vary greatly from Bryant's. And a lot greatly from what is the consensus of what is the good ranking, or the definitive ranking of what's good, the best to worst. So we'll see how this goes.
I think I know where your last is going to be, and I'm sorry, Caitlyn, but when the mob comes, I'm with them.
My last is going to be Jurassic World.
Oh, wait, no. Okay, never mind. We're good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Jurassic World's my least favorite. I think that the sexist storylines in it really left such a bad taste in my mouth. It was just, I did not like those storylines, and compared to what Jurassic Park did for me with Ellie Sattler, it just felt very disheartening to me to see that in a film like this. So Jurassic World's gonna be the least favorite for me. I think after that, I'm going to have to go with Fallen Kingdom. And I do enjoy Fallen Kingdom. There are parts I really do enjoy. I love Blue. I absolutely love Blue, and I like seeing her scenes. There are some parts that kind of dragged for me, and some parts, as far as the corporate villains go and the military wanting the raptors, I just did not like. And in general, between Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom, I do not like the genetically modified dinosaurs. I do not like the angle that the films went with that. It was a little silly to me.
Man, I thought we were on the same page with Fallen Kingdom.
I like it. I think it's a really fun movie.
Yeah, that's where I'm... Okay.
It's a really fun movie, but those things are going to put it down.
Yeah, okay, then I can see. I'm not
like
upset
I
about
said,
that.
there's only one film in this franchise that I dislike, and that is the first Jurassic World.
Yeah, there's only 2 that I dislike. So
yeah.
I think we're on the same page.
So third from last, I'm going to put, and this is where it gets a little bit more difficult, but for now I'm going to put The Lost World.
And
like I
the
said,
mob.
Yeah. So for me, there's some things that are just so silly in this movie. I love Julianne Moore. I do love the RV scene. I think the gymnastics scene with the Velociraptor is so stupid, but I will say it's my favorite kill, I think, in all of Jurassic Park. And it's completely hilarious.
It did more than any other gun.
True. For me, though, I don't really care for Ian Malcolm as the protagonist. I feel like he feels a little out of character in this movie. It didn't really work for me. Obviously he has to be more serious because he's putting on a dad role, but he was a little bit he just wasn't Ian Malcolm to me. And also, like I said, the InGen coming in, wanting to take the dinosaurs and sell them, and that whole corporate angle, didn't like. There are also parts of his film just completely dragged, particularly in the middle and in between the Velociraptor scene and the San Diego scene with the T-Rex. It just kind of dragged. But I will say, though, points to it for having the compies, because they scared the hell out of me when I was a kid, to the point where I would look away. So yeah, those were terrifying. So after that, I'm going to put Dominion. Like I said, I just had fun with this movie. It wasn't a great movie, the plot wasn't good, but I had fun with it. It is what it is. Secondly, I'm going to put, like I said, controversial opinion here, I'm going to put Jurassic Park 3. I love me some Alan Grant. He is the protagonist of this franchise, and this is the only time other than the original Jurassic Park we get to see him as the protagonist. And I liked the kid in this film, and I think there's some really cool dinosaur moments. And there's also some moments in this film where the dinosaurs just kind of stand there for a minute and just are breathing. And they're just staring and they're just breathing, and it's absolutely terrifying. And I liked that. I think the raptors had a good scary moments in this film. Not scary, but exciting, suspenseful moments. I love Jurassic Park 3. It's the first one I saw in theaters of the franchise, so it's going to have a special place there for me as well. I don't know. I like this movie. It is what it is. I know that it's not a popular pick, but it's my number 2 pick.
No, I like it. I like it more than what it gets crap for. Like, I like it. I enjoy the film. It's, again, it's on my list of fun, dumb movies. Not fun, dumb movies. It's a fun movie that I don't think is great, but especially watching it again, I was like, yeah, I enjoy this a lot more than I thought I was. And, I didn't hate the film at all just because it's lower on my list.
And it's short and sweet. That's the other thing, too. It's short and sweet.
True.
And that satellite phone, oh my gosh. I hear that in my dreams sometimes.
Okay, yeah, that was good.
Iconic phone ringtone. I need to, make my ringtone that sound.
I do like the bird in the shadows in the fog.
Yeah, that was great. The bird in the shadows, then there was also a moment where the Spinosaurus just kind of comes up and it's just breathing, and you're like, oh shit. Shit's about to go down.
Though I think they stole that scene from Rugrats the movie.
Which scene?
Which I don't know how we keep bringing up Rugrats, but...
We always bring up Rugrats.
It's so great, and they do so many movie references and parodies. Sorry, spoilers for Rugrats the movie. Go out and watch it. It's actually a really good movie.
Great movie.
But remember, they're trying to find the wizard, and Stu, he makes that pterodactyl so that he can fly over the woods.
Oh yeah.
But then he crashes, and they only see the shadow of him. And since the pterodactyl has the pointy head, it looks like a wizard. That scene kind of reminds me. I think Rugrats the movie. Yeah, it came out before before Jurassic Park 3, so may need to get a copyright lawsuit.
Yeah, right? Might have to answer for that one.
Been a whole different movie, though, if that was in the Rugrats. Or if we saw Stu in Jurassic Park 3, like, hey, have you seen my son?
I would have liked that. That would have been great. It's actually Tommy Pickles lost on the island.
Actually, it's pretty similar, because, I mean, his son gets lost in the woods and has to survive.
Yeah.
And he has the Reptar thing that he's carrying around, which is a dinosaur.
That's true.
They're getting chased by monkeys who want the nanners.
Lots of parallels between Jurassic Park 3 and the Rugrats movie. I mean, somebody's got to explain this.
Yeah, maybe that's why we like it so much.
That's probably it. And then my number one, of course, is going to be the original Jurassic Park. And I will say Jurassic Park is my number one, is miles and miles and miles higher than any other film in this franchise. I love this franchise. I really do. But Jurassic Park is going to be my favorite movie of all time for a reason. And it's way better than what this franchise has given us. But that said, I do like this franchise. So let me ask you this, Brian. Do you want more Jurassic Park?
No, I didn't want it in the first place. Or like this Jurassic World. After that first Jurassic World, I don't know. I didn't want any more. I was just disappointed in the directions. It just felt like a kid playing with dinosaur figures on screen. And even though I really enjoy Fallen Kingdom, like I said, it's not a good film. Like the fact that worked with all those films in my list for that list that I have, there was a very high chance of me just hating that film. But luckily I found something in it. You know, I found it to be enjoyable and to be fun against, you know, all the negativity that goes with it. So it's, you know, with all those films, I would never want a sequel for many of them. So no, I don't want more of this. Honestly, I wish that Jurassic Park didn't so much own dinosaurs. Like, it seems like only Universal can use dinosaurs, and I wish somebody else had a different story.
That's fair. I was going to say, I want more in the form of a TV series or miniseries, probably even just a miniseries. I think that there would be potential for that and potential to expand on the topics that it presented in a better way if it had more time to do so than rather in a blockbuster movie. Because I do think that the themes that are in here are really great. I do like the themes that it brings up. I just wish that we would go more into them. But I do agree with you. I do think that we need more dinosaur series and franchises than what we have. And we did at one point. We had, I mean, Dinotopia was a mini series for a while, way back in the day. I said it like that. And then there was Terra Nova was a show. But the problem with Terra Nova was that it was a cable television show or a network. It was a network television show that did not have the budget to do dinosaurs. So I don't even know why they really tried to make a dinosaur show when they did not have the budget to make actual dinosaurs on the show. But, you know, I think that,
So you work with what you got.
Yeah. But I think that now, obviously, television budgets are going up. I mean, probably not from Netflix anytime soon, but, you know, budgets for TV shows have been ridiculously large in recent years, and they just keep going up. I mean, if you look at the Disney Plus shows, they're ridiculously high budgets. So, you know, I think there would be potential to have another dinosaur shows, maybe even if it's not Jurassic Park, but to have something with dinosaurs that is going to look good.
That would be cool. And I think now with today's budget and ability in TV shows, it's possible. I just don't think it's unfortunately likely. I don't want to kill your dreams. I don't want to pop the bubble. It's just that these movies make so much in theaters. Like this makes a lot of movies. When you look at the TV shows that are getting produced from these big franchises, you see them being done because the movies didn't do as well as their expectations were. So this is just, we're going to see this again. We may even see a continuance. Maybe this whole thing is a con because now everybody's going to be like, well, I want to see the Jurassic World story. I was like, you guys want another trilogy? No, I just want you to kind of explain another trilogy it is.
Jurassic Universe.
Going into space.
Actually, just give me a Dinotopia remake. Did you ever watch Dinotopia?
That sounds familiar. The only dinosaur movie I can think of is We're Back, A Dinosaur Story.
No, it was kind of like a different, I don't want to say it was a multiverse, but it's kind of like a land lost in time, but they go and there's like a whole community and everyone has their Saurian life partner, so they each get their own dinosaur companion. It's kind of like Digimon or Pokemon, but with dinosaurs.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, I don't think I have watched that. There's another, what was that one dinosaur sitcom back in the day? It's like before our age.
Oh, yes. I know what you're talking about. Was it just Weird Dinosaurs?
Probably. I know everybody knows what we're talking about. Very older sitcom, which has a very depressing ending, like the finale.
It was just dinosaurs. Did it have a depressing ending?
Oh, the ending it's a tragedy. So the series ends with the Ice Age coming through and killing them.
Oh, jeez. You're talking about like with the baby, right?
Yeah, the baby.
Baby, yeah, it's just dinosaurs is what it's called. But yeah, that's depressing. I didn't know that.
Yeah, look it up.
Wow. I don't think I really watched it. Like, I know what you're talking about, but I don't think I ever like fully watched it. Was it like more adult humor?
I don't know. I think it was aimed more for adults. Like, I don't think it was adult humor, but I think it was like it was like matured humor. Like, I'm not saying it was crude or anything, but it would just go over kids' heads.
Gotcha. Like, it just kind of
It wasn't like
weird.
the Flintstones. Yeah. And I think also we had, as kids, we had the Flintstones. So it was like we watched the Flintstones or watched dinosaurs.
You know, the Flintstones was before our age, though, right?
Yeah, but we had, actually, Flintstones was probably before dinosaurs, but we had it.
Possibly.
But
we did have it.
Yeah, that's what I'm
fair.
saying. As kids, like, with both of those on, you're probably going to go to the animated one with a lot of slapsticks and screaming.
I mean, I was just going to watch The Land Before Time, to be honest.
Well, when I didn't want to cry, I would watch the Flintstones.
The sequels weren't sad, though.
There's like 14 sequels or something.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. And I loved them.
And a Happy Meal to come with each of them. Every time one of those came out, they had a Happy Meal toy selection.
Yeah. Better depiction of a compsognathus than Jurassic Park, though. Talking about scientific inaccuracies for rare dinosaurs.
I want to find those star leaves that they were munching on.
Oh, yeah, these look good.
Yeah.
Nice salad. But yeah, I think this pretty much wraps up our discussion on Dominion. Like I said, we do have a lot of similarities between how we see these films. It's just how much it really matters for your enjoyment. Like I said, I've seen every one of these movies at least twice. I have a feeling I'm going to see this one again. And I have a feeling I'm probably going to see it more than just twice.
I have no intention of watching this. I didn't have any intention of watching Jurassic World other than doing it for this episode. So you guys are welcome. Fallen Kingdom, though, I was excited to watch again.
Yeah, I do like Fallen Kingdom. Like I said, that ranking doesn't mean I don't like it. I said there's only one Jurassic Park movie that I dislike, and it's the first Jurassic World.
Yeah, there's two for me now. I was hoping not, but I just gotta, man. Yeah, well, I said it.
Well, we want to know your thoughts on Jurassic World Dominion. So if you've seen this and want to give your opinion, please reach out to us on social media. We're on Facebook at Operation Silver Screen and Twitter and Instagram at Op Silver Screen. Once again, Facebook, that's Operation Silver Screen, Twitter and Instagram, Op Silver Screen. Let us know what you think about this film and the franchise as a whole. And also just tell us what your favorite dinosaur is. Not enough people in my daily life ask me what my favorite dinosaur is, and it's kind of a bummer. Do you have a favorite dinosaur, Bryant?
I'm kind of basic.
Uh-oh.
I like the... Actually, no, it's not so much Velociraptors anymore, and that's not because they haunt me. But, I don't know, I feel like that's the basic pick. But I'll say Triceratops.
It's nice. Triceratops, there is something regal about them. My favorite dinosaur is a Parasaurolophus.
Which I know.
Quite a fan.
I
Yep.
just can never pronounce it. Somebody asked me, like, what your favorite dinosaur is. I know. It's a
I just can't pronounce it.
Paraphysalysis.
Or Parasaurolophus, I've also heard it pronounced.
Parasaurolophus.
Yes, that one. But yeah, tell us what your favorite dinosaur is. We want to know. Reach out to us. And in the meantime, you can also look at our personal letterboxes if you want to see what we're watching throughout the week and see some of our reviews on other films that might not be featured in our podcast. You can find Bryant at Swank Seal, that's capital S, and me at Coffee Spoon Kate, that's Coffee Spoon CAIT. Once again, please reach out to us. And next Tuesday on the 21st, you can look forward to hearing our episode on But I'm a Cheerleader. We're tackling that for Pride Month, so please keep that on your radar and be listening out.
Yeah, just make sure to contact us. It gets kind of boring at HQ. We need a distraction. But until next time, till the next assignment, I'm Bryant.
And I'm Caitlyn.
See ya.